Greetings, my fellow Americans. This is your President Samuel Ronan speaking, and today is Recap Thursday. That's right, folks. We made it through one more week of this dystopian nightmare, and thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a part of the pain and the suffering. Although, I guess on a much, much lighter note, Happy New Year! New year, new us. It's been a whole year since we streamed, so I mean, it's pretty crazy too. Time flies when you're having fun in this dystopian nightmare. I couldn't resist that joke. Hello, Anna. Welcome to the stream as well. And yeah, I don't know how many people got the day off today. I was not one of them. And apparently I have way too much stuff on my desk today. Trying to make some room here. But anywho, we do have a very full roster today. We're going to be able to cover quite a bit of things, and some of it's actually quite breaking as well, with regards to Epstein, Trump, and how countries around the world are reacting to this administration. Blake, welcome to the stream. It's always fun to have you around. Welcome. Happy New Year, comrade. Maryam Mamdani got sworn in. Let's go. Well, apparently he's off to a great start because he's revoking executive orders from Mayor Adams, which is good to know that that's something that can be done, because we're pretty much going to revoke executive orders going back into how far back should we go? Pre-1900s, like at the start of the revolution, like 1776. Like, how far back should we go with the revocation of executive orders? But hey, yeah, I asked Anna to find a video on that so we can cover that as well. And yeah, I guess we will be keeping an eye on Mayor Mamdani and see what happens. So on that note, let's get started. And top moments. Apparently, Amy Goodman with Democracy Now!, the War and Peace report was not posted, so we got to make do with this.
2025 began with the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter and the inauguration of President Donald Trump. Due to cold weather, the ceremony was moved to the Capitol Rotunda.
So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty, EI and woke.
Oh, so this is going to be 9 minutes and 39 seconds of fuckery. I see. Okay. So it started with making sure that his numbers didn't look bad, and immediately straight into the fact that we pulled out of the Paris Accords and derailed that whole mess.
Policies, refugee admission, crisis at the border, public safety threats.
Undermining our democracy.
So this is January 6th.
Presidential pardon, that's what we got. Nobody gets those. People like me.
The Trump administration continues immigration enforcement.
The Pentagon is set to send active duty troops to help secure the southern border.
Mind you, they're doing this in sequential order, right? The beginning of the year to the present. Remember how everybody was saying, like, guys, this is bad. This is really, really bad. If nobody does something about this, we're going to have fascism on our hands. And people are like, shut up, bruh. We're getting the play-by-play of how we went from a failing democracy, or in the process of failing, a declining democracy. How about that? To literally watching it get eroded. This is going to be amazing. I hope you have your alcohol ready, or your blunts, or whatever it is, to keep you through this. Me, I'm going to stress eat.
Did you see that? There was a collision
between a commercial plane and a military helicopter, America's deadliest.
Why was there a collision between the helicopter and the civilian aircraft, Was it because air traffic control was gutted? Was it because DOD started firing air traffic control? Was it because the military wasn't using its proper flight paths? Jesus Christ, this is going to be so bad. I'm going to crash. It hasn't even been a minute. It has not even been a minute, and I'm this close to crashing out already.
Aviation disaster in nearly a quarter century.
I'd like to request a moment of silence for
the victims and their families, please.
Yeah, that you caused.
President Trump's favorite economic tool is the tariff.
Tariffs on Mexico, on Canada, on China.
You added 120,000 jobs.
Executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time.
For the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
Prime Minister Benjamin.
Honestly, this, if this was in German, people, I don't think you would notice any difference between this and the rise of Hitler. Like, do we need to watch like a 10-minute video on the rise of Hitler? Because I'm sure there is one. What am I eating? I'm eating leftover mashed potatoes and chicken from the freezer. Living that good life. But yeah, so we just saw discrimination against transgender individuals. We saw the ATC get massacred. And the import tariffs on every country in the world, starting with our closest neighbors. And now flying over the Gulf of America, which he has no authority to rename regardless. Because, like, I don't know that any country has the authority to rename a body of water, to be honest. Why not just rename the Atlantic Ocean Trump Ocean at that point, right? Like, that just doesn't even make sense. Also, immediately meeting with Netanyahu within the first 100 days of his presidency. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Blake, I know we've had this conversation. That you're literally in the crossfires in many ways, many more ways than one, of this administration due to their discriminatory policies and practices. So, and the fact that you're in the South makes it even worse. But I think the Tennessee governor is actually one of the few Republican governors that's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. We are supposed to represent all Americans, right? Right? So we can't do all of this heinous bullshit. But right, he was one of the few that was at least giving some lip service, if not actual pushback. Not that he was out and out advocating. God forbid we advocate for civil liberties in this country, but, you know.
Netanyahu,
Indian King Abdullah,
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi,
French counterpart Emmanuel Macron,
Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba,
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Trump has cut short talks with Ukraine's leader.
Your country's in big trouble. Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking.
So he met with a bunch of dictators and a bunch of neoliberals. And then our supposed ally who's suffering in a war effort, he's bullying? Huh.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
I, Marco Rubio.
Pamela Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard,
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We solemnly swear.
First cabinet meeting of President Trump's second term.
One of the most important initiatives is DOGE.
I mean, remember Musk? Remember Musk looming over everybody for months, dictating the terms of our government? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
USAID headquarters, they've been given 15 minutes to go inside and bring all their personal belongings out.
This is what democracy looks like. Arrest Elon Musk.
By the way, for 9 minutes and 39 seconds, we're 2 minutes deep. We're already dealing with massive, massive amounts of corruption and international diplomatic destruction. And March, this is now the beginning of March, and we've already had protests against this administration. Like, y'all, if this was the opening sequence to a movie, y'all wouldn't believe it.
And to my fellow citizens, America is back. DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. Secret Service Director to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
A well-known Palestinian activist at Columbia University was arrested by ICE agents.
Secretary Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil.
Wow. This is still March, by the way. Still March.
ICE is off our campus now!
The Trump administration has sent hundreds of immigrants to El Salvador and Honduras.
A journalist was added to a Signal chat where Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth detailed U.S. airstrikes on Yemen Houthis.
The Secretary of Defense did something that was reckless.
Nobody's texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about it.
Trump is the first U.S. president to serve as chairman of the Kennedy Center.
We're going to make a lot of changes. Pretty much everything. Needs a lot of work. My fellow Americans, this...
Y'all. That was just March, where the federal government targeted Palestinian activists, student protesters, and sent immigrants, like trafficked immigrants, to a known death camp. That was March. That was within the first 100 days of the presidency. Right? Because January 21st is day one. So February 21st is 30 days. March 21st is 60 days. We haven't even hit. This is now the third month of the presidency, and we have already engaged in war crimes, crimes against humanity, diplomatic destruction, economic warfare, and crimes against our own Constitution by violating due process. Oh, and ignoring protests, and so on and so forth. And then also allowing a foreign national billionaire who more than likely helped rig the presidential election to get him in there in the first place, was looming over leaders of our nation in the cabinet, directing them, dictating to them, and shutting down our agencies. While, and they didn't cover this, surprisingly, while he and his merry band of misfit hackers were hacking into the U.S. Treasury and Social Security Department on unsecure servers. And it's not even it is just now April.
This is Liberation Day. As they charge us, we charge them. We charge them less, so how can anybody be upset? Very happy Easter to everyone.
At 7:35 this morning, Pope Francis died. He was 88 years old. He was history's first Latin American pope.
President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met before the funeral service for Pope Francis in the Vatican.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he will meet with President Trump.
We don't need anything from Canada. When I say they should be a state, I mean that.
It's not for sale, won't be for sale.
Oh. I thought the we're going to buy Canada and Greenland was earlier in the year. I'm sorry, I guess that was just May. Why not? And of course, Pope Francis dying is notable. Don't get me wrong. It's tragic. His legacy is hopefully not going to be marred by this current pope. But I'm just seeing what's happening in America right now. Like, that's the takeaway of that's the point of this video, is what's going on in America. And like, you can see how we had a functioning democracy and how it is just quickly declining in real time.
But never say never. Never say never.
President Donald Trump travels to the Middle East. Reportedly, he'll accept a luxury Boeing jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar.
Not the first, but one of the first violations of the emoluments clause that he engaged in while sitting in the presidency.
They're giving us a free jet. I could say no, or I could say thank you very much.
It's not that you could say no, or you could say thank you very much. It's against the fucking law. It's also not free on account of it's going to cost, nearly, it's like $2 to $4 billion to fix up or something like that? Never forget, JD killed the Pope. You're right.
Elon Musk is criticizing the Trump legislative agenda.
Elon Musk is leaving his government role as a top advisor to President Donald Trump.
He's my friend, and he's done a fantastic job. He didn't need this.
President Trump is responding aggressively to protests over his immigration policies in Los Angeles.
Oh, Oh, the second major crackdown of protests in his presidency already. Huh. Gee, that's not a great sign at all, is it, of a functioning democracy, folks?
Tensions escalate.
Oh, look! Look at that! Stormtroopers. Are they going to mention how they were firing upon journalists covering this?
In Los Angeles as members of the National Guard used rubber bullets and tear gas to control thousands of protesters.
Opponents of President Donald Trump's administration are rallying in hundreds of cities during the military parade in Washington, which also happens to coincide with Trump's birthday.
President Donald Trump says a ceasefire.
Yeah, nothing says like functioning democracy than reorganizing a military parade to fall on their birthday.
Between Iran and Israel is in effect after the deal initially faltered, leaving Trump frustrated with both sides.
They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
After nearly 27 hours.
That was just the first 5 months of the presidency. By the way, we haven't even had a full year yet. By the way.
Of debate, Senate Republicans passed President Donald Trump's signature bill.
Republicans in the House hope to quickly pass President Donald Trump's tax and spending cuts package.
The motion is adopted.
I think this is one of the saddest days in modern American history.
President Trump is mourning the victims of the flash flooding in Texas last weekend.
My deepest sympathy to all of the parents who lost beautiful young souls.
Jeffrey Epstein is back in the news.
Are you still talking?
So, environmental disasters, which I gotta love the Associated Press because they showed the natural disaster and did not mention at all that the Trump administration had already gutted FEMA by this point, which exacerbated the problems in the first place, while at the same time California was and had been on fire. Oh, and the hurricane that ripped through the entire East Coast, unless that's coming up still, but
What about Jeffrey Epstein?
President Trump headed to Alaska for his summit with President Putin of Russia.
There was no deal reached on a ceasefire.
He was friendlier with the Russian president than he was with the Ukrainian president, who is being attacked by Russia, and colloquially as an ally.
For his summit with President Putin.
Look, that's not how you greet an enemy. Look at Putin, he's like, my man, what's up, my ninja? Oh my God.
Of Russia.
There was no deal reached on a ceasefire as Trump had promised. Now all eyes are turning to Ukrainian President.
When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end.
President Donald Trump says he's deploying the National Guard to make the nation's capital safer.
Yeah, and again, I'm pretty certain by August now. By August, he had actually started sending the National Guard to more than just California. Washington, D.C., I believe, was the third or fourth deployment.
Trump administration has asked a military base outside of Chicago for support on immigration operations.
The Vice President and the Secretary of Defense made an unannounced visit to Union Station today.
Help my city!
Charlie.
They're doing a really good job of painting a picture of a little bit of chaos and a little bit of good, and not just a downward spiral. I gotta give the Associated Press credit where credit is due. They are doing a really good job of propaganda. However, it's extremely difficult to hide the fact that this administration has been eroding democracy, and the fact that they are somewhat managing to do that is actually impressive. I'm actually impressed. So, Charlie Kirk died in September, or lost the gun debate in September. So, October, November, December. So it's been almost 3 months. Laugh reacts only.
Charlie Kirk is dead after being shot during an event at a Utah college.
No, at a gun debate. Let's talk about it. A gun rights, white nationalist, Christian nationalist event on a college campus. And he lost that discussion handily. We are all Charles.
Please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family.
None of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
President Donald Trump.
They didn't show the clip where he was like trying to like make like was bragging that a beautiful woman was like there is context. There is necessary context in I mean literally it happened right in the very next clip. Like the very next not clip frame. It was like in the next few frames where he starts doing the like, are you shitting me? Oh my goodness. This is
was coming to Britain for a state visit.
This is the first time that a head of state has been invited with a visible letter.
We'll be having a big discussion tomorrow about autism. So taking time.
Yeah, probably because he just had to get rid of his brother from the Epstein files and wants to make sure that he's not next.
Tylenol is not good.
As a mom of a child with autism, I felt like maybe I was being blamed for that.
We're inside one of the...
Oh, September was the Tylenol crisis? Tylenol's why you got the autism! Well, my family's an ibuprofen family, so... And, they gave me a shitload of ibuprofen in the military, too, so... I'm just saying, if any of the drugs made me autistic, it ain't the Tylenol. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, I use the word beautiful loosely. I'm just saying, in their circles, she's an attractive woman. I can't stand King Charles III either. Princess Diana deserved better. She sure fucking did. Charles is a coward. All right, let's get into October.
The Senate office building's trying to find senators to talk about the government shutdown.
Welcome everybody to...
Oh, was this the government? Yeah, that's right. This was the longest shutdown in history where Democrats were fighting for your health care and precisely got how many concessions from the Republicans? 0. Democrats shut down our government for the longest time and period of all history. 6 of those motherfuckers crossed the party line, betraying the American people, and their party for that matter, and got nothing in return. Nothing. So when the Republicans say that the government shutdown is the Democrats' fault and they shut it down for no reason whatsoever, it's actually not false.
Day 2 of Day 3, Day 10, Day 14 of the Democrat government shutdown.
So I was covering a typical roundtable with President Trump. In the back of the room, Secretary Rubio had stepped in. Once I saw him reach over and grab a notepad, this was out of the ordinary and something was going to happen.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the secretary.
Really? We're governing through truth, so I don't remember covering this. Must have been pretty low on the tree of fuckery that day.
Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East.
U.S. President Donald Trump is due on a one-day tour of the Middle East, meet with world leaders, and discuss more details about the ceasefire.
After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning.
Oh, the 20 hostages that survived the unilateral destruction and genocide of the Palestinian people, who despite all that still managed to keep 20 hostages alive? Oh, that same ceasefire that has been violated every single day since it was enacted?
To the glorious embrace of their families.
John Bolton has been charged with...
Former FBI Director James Comey made his first court appearance in...
Big crowds of protesters are expected across the United States.
We're here because we love America.
It's time. Yeah, I mean, it is choppy chop time. That is for fucking sure. To free Palestine, it is time to do that as well. I guess this was another No Kings March. The thing is, there might not have been as many major protests, like organized protests, but they haven't covered literally any of the cities that organized against ICE and repeatedly organized against ICE to push ICE out of their fucking cities. They're only focusing on the major approved protests. Damn. I'm just saying, the Associated Press, they're really good at propaganda.
We're building a world-class ballroom. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here.
The White House has started.
That's literally not true at all. Also, you need approval, and he didn't get it, and he just started whacking it down anyway. Also, and I don't know if we're going to cover this or if we did already, it's been a hell of a week. There is a conspiracy theory going around that the dimensions of the ballroom, and especially the dimensions that are below ground, because why do you need dimensions below ground for a ballroom that's above ground, right? But hey, the dimensions for the ballroom, the down underground portion, are the exact same specifications of an Israeli data center that they wanted to build elsewhere and got denied. Food for thought, we might very well be building an Israeli data center, spy center, on U.S. soil under the seat of power of the United States of America. Just putting that out there. I went to a No Kings and it was just a stupid little glorified parade, basically. Right. That's the problem. It was a state-approved protest. And again, that's the only ones that they're covering.
Demolishing part of the East Wing.
The entire White House East Wing has been demolished. President Trump and New York Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani go from...
Oh, so brown people and Muslims are okay when you smile at, when they smile at you, apparently.
adversaries to a bromance.
Affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about... That's okay, you can just say it. I don't mind.
The longest U.S. government...
Also, the complete lack of building up to the fact of why somebody would call him a fascist. Yeah, there were a couple clips in this video so far that alluded to abuse of power and complete disregard of the Constitution. Alluded to, mind you. But to just brazenly brush off, I don't mind if you call me a fascist. Bruh, if you're sitting in this office and you're being called a fascist and you're not being and you're not vehemently denying it or being charged immediately for being one, I mean, I'm just saying. Oh my goodness. Let's see what's left.
Government shutdown ever has come to an end.
The House has passed a bill to force the Justice Department to publicly release its files on Jeffrey Epstein.
These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that she's resigning from Congress in January.
No context why Marjorie Taylor Greene is resigning. No context. No context. No context. No. The fact that she turned against MAGA land to support the Epstein victims and was extremely outspoken about it, and then was targeted by MAGA in her state. We're not going to talk about that? No? Okay.
It was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's first visit since the 2018 killing of Washington Post journalist.
Ah, yes. The prince that was responsible for murdering a journalist in one of the most brutal ways possible was given the red carpet treatment by yours truly.
Jamal Khashoggi.
Brutal murder of a journalist.
But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that.
Come on up, Waddle. Welcome to the press briefing room.
You are hereby unconditionally partner.
2 West Virginia National Guard members shot just blocks from the White House.
President Trump.
We're not going to talk about why. I mean, they did mention that the National Guard was deployed to D.C., but we're not going to talk about why these 2 particular National Guardsmen who were fresh out of basic were somehow managed to be targeted. We're not going to talk about that? Okay.
Announced Thanksgiving night, one of 2 National Guard members had died.
She's just passed away. She's no longer with us.
So we're stopping the drugs, we're striking the boats, we're defeating narco-terror.
Oh, we're going to talk about the hearings of the boat strikes, but we're not going to talk about the boat strikes when they happened, which was back in September. Or started, I should say, back in September. Huh. Okay, so no further context. No big deal. Sure, why not?
Lawmakers in Congress want to know what happened.
Oh, and they also didn't bring up the video of senators and congressmen telling the military to disobey unlawful orders. That's a pretty big fucking deal.
When that boat was struck on September 2nd.
You can't see anything, you got digital. This is called the fog of war.
This is your peace prize? Yeah, the world is a safer place now.
Oh yeah, when the soccer league gave him a peace prize to shut him the fuck up.
Thank you for this bridge payment. It's Christmas early for farmers.
The U.S. Justice Department published thousands of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey.
I do want to point out, they redacted the whole piece of paper. Like, you gotta laugh. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if corruption, like if this was a cartoon or an anime or a movie and you wanted to just highlight how cartoonishly evil or corrupt the bad guy was, you couldn't go much worse. Like, this is something the Joker would do, right? Completely redact all the files. Here you go, Batsy.
The U.S. Justice Department published thousands of files related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Prince Andrew. Oh, that's just only Prince Andrew.
We reporters had questions for the president. He did not answer any of them.
First Lady Melania Trump has revealed the White House decorations.
And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined.
Honestly, the Associated Press tried to make the year not seem that chaotic. Like, there was a bit of chaos. Just a little bit of rivalry. Just a little bit of back and forth between the Republicans and the Democrats. But that in no way, form, or fashion highlights the absolute disillusion of our democracy and implementation of fascism in our country. There were significant amounts of ICE raids, significant protests against those raids. The fact that ICE was hiring bounty hunters to fill their ranks, the fact that ICE got $250 billion for their budget, the fact that there are 32 people that have died under ICE custody, the fact that ICE has been targeting women and children to target their other family members. The fact that there were deployments in up to, 7 states? 7 states had National Guardsmen deployed against the state's will. The raids that were unauthorized and illegal, the myriad Supreme Court rulings that were blatantly and belligerently ignored, the fact that we still have an air traffic control crisis, the fact that our economy is in shambles and the jobs reports has been in the negatives since August. What else? The fact that China won the trade war with the United States. I mean, there was so much fuckery that could have been covered, but instead they're like, let's make the president not look like the psychopath that he is. So yeah. For legal reasons, that sentence above is a joke. I'm learning Spanish in college. I already learned a bit in high school, so I'm building on that as well. Yeah. Conversation. All right. Moving on. Eric Adams.
We have some big news right
Mamdani being a little cheeky.
now regarding Zohran Mamdani's first actions as mayor of New York City. He has signed an executive order rescinding all of the executive orders signed by former Mayor Eric Adams on September 26, 2024 to the present. So essentially, that day is important. Why? Because that was the day Eric Adams was indicted by the Department of Justice on foreign bribery charges.
Again, when I say that the United States is compromised by Israel, that's what I mean. Mayor Adams was indicted by the Department of Justice for receiving foreign money, i.e. bribes. The fact that AIPAC is basically buying and selling senators and congressmen by the bushel, and not just senators and congressmen, we're going at the local level, the state levels as well, as we can see. So the fact that we have 100% been infiltrated, and if not taken over but from behind the scenes by Israel, is clearly not talked about enough, because it's not being talked about at all. Let's see. Zoran might not be a perfect politician, but who is? I think he's decent. Much better than most Dems we have right now. Yeah, I'd say this. As far as a Democrat goes, you can't do that much better than Zoran right now. You can't really do much better than him. As an ideal candidate, yeah, sure, fine. Leaves a little bit desired.
Along with other campaign finance related offenses. Well, one of Zoran Mamdani's first actions after being sworn into office today, rescind all of the executive orders he signed, or Eric Adams signed, September 26th, 2024 through the present day. He didn't give a full explanation as to why, but I think the explanation is pretty explanatory, self-explanatory, given the fact that that is the day that Eric Adams was indicted by a federal grand jury.
You know what kills me about this guy? He's not a very good presenter, and he's clearly on his couch in his apartment, but this motherfucker has 435 subscribers. What the fuck am I doing wrong? I'm a political content creator. How am I so much significantly worse than this guy? I kind of want to know. Now here it is from...
Well, after meeting earlier this week,
This is a synopsis. He didn't just sign that executive order, he did several. So this video is going to cover, I think, a majority of this.
Still seems to be some tension between Mayor Adams and Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani.
All right, Fox 5's Morgan Mackay here with the latest rumblings out of City Hall tonight. Morgan.
Hey, Steve and Natasha. So Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani isn't waiting on the sidelines until he takes office in less than a month, and was out again today passing out free hot chocolate to highlight
wait a second.
his
This is 4 weeks old. This is Eric Adams issues executive orders. That was the... You got that confused. Oh, that's context. I see.
He's a rent proposal for rent-stabilized apartments, but Mayor Eric Adams also making moves in the background, specifically to needle Mamdani. Adams has not only spoke about potentially stacking the rent guidelines board with appointees who oppose Mamdani's plan to freeze rents on rent-stabilized apartments, he also last night issued 2 executive orders. One prohibits the city from making business or pension investment decisions that discriminate against Israel, and the second order directs a...
Remember that foreign bribery and finance crimes that he was indicted for? Why would you specifically call out Israel for that, huh? Just curious.
Police commissioner to evaluate proposals that would block protests from occurring close to houses of worship. Both of these orders can be overturned once Mamdani takes office. Adams was asked today, why issue these orders now? And Mamdani also responding.
I have a job to finish. I have not landed a plane on the aircraft carrier and said, job, mission accomplished. I have more stuff to do. We got more stuff to do. You know, there's a host of other things that we're going to churn out.
So he's basically doing it out of spite. The other thing, too, is like, if executive orders can be rescinded, why isn't that done more often? Like, that's... Considering that an executive order technically doesn't carry the weight of law anyway. I'm really curious. Yeah, Adams pretending that he wasn't trying to block Mamdani, yeah.
The mayor is free to issue as many executive orders as he'd like with the less than 30 days that he has in office, and then we will be taking a look at every single one once we actually enter into City Hall.
Well, he didn't do that, did he? Mamdani said he would look at them, but instead, all he did was unilaterally rescind them. So... But actually, that's pretty fucking hilarious, because when I step into the White House, among other things, rescinding executive orders from this administration would be the easiest and simplest of the things that I'll be doing with the stroke of a pen. And I'll have interns that learned how to write political policy and the legislative writing and executive order writing. So, we'll have it covered.
Now, Adams also...
Okay, and then...
Some breaking news, Mayor Mamdani already hitting the ground running on this inauguration day.
He just finished holding a news conference moments ago in Brooklyn, and he outlined 3 executive orders on housing.
The first will be to revive the mayor's office to protect tenants. We will not compromise on housing quality. The second is to create a LIFT task force. LIFT stands for Land Inventory Fast Track, to leverage city-owned land and accelerate housing development. The last executive order is the creation of the SPEED task force. SPEED standing for streamlining procedures to expedite equitable development.
Yeah, see, when you try and name a law or an executive order or to create a task force that has a neat acronym, then you get some really weird naming language, but it is what it is. So I'll say this. Mayor Mamdani is doing at least a good job right off the gate. I'll give him that much credit. He is fulfilling some of his promises right out the gate. I can't complain or argue about that. And although that sounds extremely technical, that what he's getting into, and so probably a little bit more to chew on from a more nuanced political channel, it does seem like it's going in the right direction, that he is ensuring that the government is actually going to be utilized to support the citizens that the government is governing, right? So as far as I'm concerned, I'd say that's all in the right direction, and I can't wait to see how it goes. Now, granted, those are just 3 of the things he's doing. There's nothing to say that he isn't about to make a guffaw, but we'll see. Or a gaffe, I'm sorry, a gaffe. A guffaw is all. Maybe we can get high-speed rail in New York. I mean, that would be fucking awesome. That would be awesome. I would love the trains. All right. Moving along, since we got the little bit of cheekiness in there. Breaking points.
All right, guys. Happy New Year. Here we are on the cusp of 2026, 2025.
All right, and I'm sorry. I have to say this because I just noticed it extremely in her eyes right now. Trains! Thank you for that. I might have to adjust how that fits on the screen here. But we'll work on that. Anywho, her eyes, can you see that? Can you see how on her eyes, that's the little white ring light that is just reflecting out of her pupils? I don't understand how people can have that bright light shining directly in their face and not going blind. Because I've tried it. Like, I have all sorts of ambient light going around because it's the Oval Office. But trying to do a ring light is horrible. It is horrible. I don't know how people do that. So, kudos to her, I guess.
Was a wild one. I'm sure 2026 is going to be another wild one, not least of which because we're probably going to learn a whole lot more about Jeffrey Epstein and the many powerful men, including the President of the United States, who were complicit or enabled the horrific crimes that he committed over years and years. And on that note, the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because we have a major breaking bombshell report from the Wall Street Journal. The title of their report here is "The Incident That Prompted Trump to Ban Epstein from Mar A Lago Spa." Mar A Lago sent an 18-year-old spa worker on a house call to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. She complained to her bosses that Epstein pressured her for sex. Now, I'm going to go through the details here because there's a lot that this report reveals, but the TLDR is this. Number 1, Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were using Mar-a-Lago as a hunting ground for young girls to abuse and potentially traffic for years. Number 2, staff at Mar-a-Lago knew that this was going on. They would warn each other and warn the girls about what they might experience, including Epstein exposing himself to them if they make these house calls to his house. Number 3, Epstein was getting, sort of privileged perks at Mar-a-Lago. He was not a dues-paying member, and yet he was told directly, the staff at Mar-a-Lago were told directly by Trump to treat him as if he was a dues-paying member. And also another special perk that he received was these house calls, which the massage staff did not like to do and was not typical at the club, but they did for Epstein.
So we'll listen a little bit more to the intro. I don't think we're going to watch the whole 10-minute video, but it kind of goes without saying that Trump was very much so integrated in this Epstein network, world, bubble, whatever you want to call it. And this video is going to focus on Mar A Lago being hunting grounds, but what isn't being discussed in this is the fact that Trump was actually integral to the success of the trafficking, and that there is evidence to suggest that Trump was going to inherit the sex trafficking ring from Epstein. What's worse, Les Wexner, which if you're from Ohio and specifically Columbus, Ohio, you might recognize that name because it's all over the Ohio State University Medical Center, all right? That Les Wexner was put in charge as the executor of his estate, the primary, it's not the executor, it's the person who has the right to make legal decisions on your behalf if things go out the door, right? So, like, Epstein had multiple billionaires working for or with him directly involved with his business dealings, specifically the business of the sex trafficking and perhaps even the clandestine behind-the-scenes stuff. So there needs to be way more information about those dealings and that information. But sure, Mar-a-Lago being the epicenter for Epstein's trafficking activities, sure, absolutely. Power of attorney, that's what it was. I couldn't think of it for the life of me.
And another piece here that's revealed is concerns directly from Trump's wife at the time, Marla Maples, who said she did not like Epstein, did not like him being around Trump, did not like his influence on Trump, thought there was something wrong with him or something off. So with that being said, let me just read you a little bit from this report, actually a significant amount from this report, because you're definitely going to want to know the details here. So they start off by saying, Jeffrey Epstein was not just a frequent visitor to Mar-a-Lago in the late 90s and early 2000s. The club was also sending spa employees, usually young women, to Epstein's nearby mansion for massages, manicures, and other spa services. The house calls went on for years, even as spa employees warned each other about Epstein, who was known among staff for being sexually suggestive and exposing himself during the appointments. Okay, that's according to former Mar-a-Lago employees. So for years, this is going on. These employees of Donald Trump are warning each other about Trump's best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, and the way that when they send young girls to his house, he is propositioning them and he is exposing himself to them.
And that is just that is just the beginning of the story, right? And that's the whole point, right? The fact that this is just a drop in the bucket of their relationship, Epstein and Trump's relationship, and how insidious that relationship actually was, and how impactful and destructive it was to people, especially the victims, is more than enough to impeach this motherfucker and send him to prison for the rest of his miserable life. But the fact that literally nothing is happening other than people being outraged about how the files themselves have been handled is absolutely batshit insane. And again, evidence that we do not have a functioning democracy and that our Constitution is being outright ignored. So, we do have plenty to cover today, and I wanted to focus a little bit more on good news, but suffice to say, please watch the rest of this video on your own if you want to know about the specific Mar-a-Lago things. But suffice to say, it is becoming abundantly clear, beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond the preponderance of the evidence, right, that Trump is guilty of whatever association he has had with Epstein and the activities that Epstein was engaged with, up to and including being an integral member of the sex trafficking ring itself. So, I don't know what else to say. Why can't rich dudes just be normal? Right. I don't get that either. Why can't rich dudes just be normal? Like, you're fucking rich. Go out there and paint things. Go out there and travel and experience life. Date supermodels. Don't beat them. Don't murder them. Don't cheat on them. Don't use them to be broodmares. Just date supermodels because you can. Like, damn. Play video games. Write a book. But no, they have to engage in human trafficking and murder and sex trafficking and pedophilia and whatever other nonsense. Oh, destroying the climate and the ozone, destroying countries, destroying businesses and people's lives. It's like, why do you have to be malevolent? Like, what? It's got to be the mindset. Like, capitalism breeds malevolence, and it encourages malevolence to succeed and rise to the top. And that's why we have such a shitty, hateful, isolating society, because greed, corruption, and self-serving nature is what's rewarded. And now it's being reflected in our day-to-day life. It's insane. Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso is doing some pretty based anti-imperialist stuff. Yeah, it is true he's doing some base stuff. We stopped talking about him as much because he started targeting the queer community in his country, and it was something we really didn't want to support on the channel. But suffice to say, it is worth mentioning that they are resisting imperialism.
Mali and Burkina Faso have said they're imposing a travel ban on U.S. citizens. That's after an equivalent measure announced by the Trump administration. On December 16th, the White House added the 2 junta-led countries and 5 other nations to a list of those subject to a full travel ban from January 1st. It applies to countries with what Washington calls severe deficiencies in screening, vetting, and information sharing.
Yeah, and so our allies, the European Union and NATO, are going to now have to subject themselves to iris scans, blood samples, fingerprints, and 5 years of their social media, plus all of their phone numbers and email addresses. Yeah, because not sharing information versus literally invading someone's entire personal life just to travel here.
The White House said these gaps pose national security and public safety threats. Mali said Washington's decision had been taken without prior consultation, adding that the stated rationale was not justified by actual developments on the ground.
What a video. I kind of want to watch this and see what it... Did this just happen? It did 2 days ago.
Customers of a German bank chant, "Let us in," after thieves robbed the branch and made off with more than $10 million worth of money and valuables.
That's fucking wild. First the Louvre gets hit, and now this German bank? That's fucking hilarious.
Police said on Tuesday. The perpetrators used the quiet Christmas period to drill their way into the vault of a Sparkasse bank in the...
I mean, that's dedication. Look at the size of that hole, for one. And then look at the depth of that hole. That's gotta be a couple feet, maybe a meter thick, if not more. Like, they really wanted what was inside. And the fact that the bank, their vault, is just regular storage bins that you could buy from Walmart or Amazon is pretty fucking funny as well. Oh, they should have taken the Mona Lisa. The thing about the Mona Lisa is I think that one is too popular and too heavily secured. I think it was too deep in the Louvre to actually get away with scot-free. They went to a very unpopulated area of the Louvre to make away with those jewels. So it was, thank you for the Gesundheit there. They made away with the crown jewels because it was more convenient. Unless that's exactly what they were targeting, but still. It would have been more clever. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to argue with that.
City of Gelsenkirchen, and then broke into several thousand safe deposit boxes, police said. Most shops and banks in Germany closed starting on December 24th for the Christmas period. Police only discovered the hole after a fire alarm went off on Monday. Outside the branch, angry customers said they weren't getting any information and that they wanted to know which safe deposit boxes were affected. This customer...
Yeah, because people who use safe deposit boxes are probably keeping family heirlooms or extremely important paperwork in there, right? Like, you don't just put a cigar in your safe deposit box or a spare jar of honey. I mean, I guess some people might. You put your birth certificate, your passport, your marriage certificate. You do things like that. The family jewels, all joking aside, right? Like, those are the kinds of things you put in safe deposit boxes because it's more secure in a bank than at your home, right? Right? Well, apparently not in Germany during the Christmas season.
Said his box contained retirement savings. This one said his held lots of money and jewelry. A Sparkasse Bank spokesperson...
Now, I don't know why you're putting cash in your deposit box. But other than that, we're waiting on you now, Mr. President. What do you say? Me? Or like the German president?
Person did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Police said witnesses have reported that they saw several men on Saturday night carrying large bags in the stairwell of an adjacent parking garage.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie. Some of these videos that keep popping up here, like, this is sad. Khalida Zia, Bangladesh's first woman prime minister, dies at 80. That's pretty sad. But, like, that is an interesting clip. So, Reuters, again, part of the MSM network, don't trust them, but does have some pretty interesting content. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it's because I talk about autism or because people talk about me being autistic a lot, but I just saw
every high-masking autistic
this video. How to spot autism in high-masking adults. Really? Really, YouTube? Really? I have been doing nothing but talking about politics, fascism, guillotines, protest, activism, foreign affairs, all of that. But you're going to talk about autism. You're going to throw that in my face. And then the next one is 13 signs you might not be autistic. All right. What's the first one? Or let's see what the little chapters are about here. Because usually when they do chapters, they read more. Those are the articles. Okay, here's the chapters. Sensory experiences, background noises, what your brain focuses on, your unique rules for life, processing time, overthinking, time struggles, eating habits, catching vibes, and explanation styles. First of all, lower your fucking voice, sir, because that was exceedingly rude, and I didn't deserve that. Now I don't want to watch it, because I feel like I am going to be exposed. But let's see if we can just jump through them and see what it is.
Number one, you get hyper-focused on the feeling of things, like that one spot on the couch. You can't...
Shut the fuck up.
2, background noise isn't background to you. You can hear every hum, beep, and whisper in a room, and it's impossible to tune out. The useless details, because bottom-up processing is how you do it. Your brain just doesn't notice details. It hyper-focuses on them, often at the expense of the bigger picture. Hello, bottom-up processing. That thing your brain does where you naturally start with small details and build up to the whole. And not all autistic people see the world this way, but many do, including myself.
Okay, well, I don't see the world that way. I'm usually more of a big picture person. This one's gonna hurt.
For things
I have a feeling this one's gonna definitely hurt my feelings.
No one else cares about. Okay, so honestly, do you load the dishwasher your way or not at all? Or maybe you just rearrange the dishes when you think no one else is looking. out in conversations and realized what happened weeks later. You're in a conversation and everything seems fine until later. Maybe it's hours, days, or even weeks later when your brain finally goes, oh, that's what they meant. Delayed processing time actions. You can spend 5 minutes debating the correct way to say goodbye at the end of a phone call, or how many exclamation points are too many in an email. Which emoji should I end this text with? Wait, how are they going to perceive my tone? Ugh, do I even need to respond? In very specific ways. So you're either wildly early or cutting it so close, you're basically sprinting. And forget estimating how long something will take. A 5-minute task somehow eats up your whole afternoon. Like when you say, I'll just do this one thing real quick. And then 2 hours later, wait, what time was I supposed to leave?
Now, eating habits. I think that one's going to just shoot me right in the guts. That is going to be a knife wound, twisting and turning.
Food texture is a deal breaker. It's not about being picky. It's that certain textures feel wrong.
Oh, okay.
Even
This isn't what I
unbearable.
thought it was gonna be.
Crunchy carrots, gross. Slimy mushrooms, I'll pass on that, thanks. Milk with even the faintest hint of warmness, that's diarrhea talk. And I am not interested. This
Okay, still not what I thought it was going to be about, but I got to admit, there are some things that I like the taste of, but then if it's in a different format, I'm like, nope, not happening. But not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be stress eating or something.
a lot. Someone else's vibe can completely derail your own. If they're stressed, you're stressed. If they're in a bad mood, suddenly you feel off too.
See, it's the opposite. I think I vibe off of, like, my vibe impacts others. I think that's the problem. For me, my flavor of autism, if I'm even autistic.
When telling a story, you either give a step-by-step documentary or skip over half the details and confuse everyone.
Which is why I started streaming and going out door to door and interacting with people more, because I found myself doing that a lot. I was really, really good at giving speeches and really passionate about the subjects I was familiar with. Everything else? Or like when I would come home on leave and talk about the military and just use acronym salad. Yeah. Okay. Now.
Everyone's a little autistic.
13 signs I might not be autistic. So let's see. So, group collaboration, multi-person convos, eye contact, letting things go, ruminating thoughts, being misunderstood. I mean, all these things sound like autism. The fuck? All right, let's see.
You collaborate well in groups. If you're someone who meshes quickly and well when collaborating with others, like group projects in school or collaborative problem solving at work, then you probably aren't autistic.
I don't know. I feel like I do work well in a group. But I will admit or argue or state for the fact that I also tend to take over whatever activity the group is doing. So maybe that's not working well with a group.
Number 2, you can participate in multi-person conversation and not struggle.
Nope, definitely cannot do that. If 2 people are talking at me, I literally will say, one of you, stop, continue, excellent, sorry for interrupting, what did you say? So I cannot do that.
Number 3, you can make eye contact without feeling uncomfortable. If making eye contact consistently doesn't bother your insides, then you might not be autistic. By bothering your insides, I mean feeling agitated and uncomfortable, or just downright nervous.
I make other people nervous because I stare them into the depths of their souls because, again, I didn't know eye contact meant looking at their face generally, not actually into their eyes. And when I do that, yes, it is fairly uncomfortable. Letting things go? Oh,
4,
boy.
you don't have a problem with letting things go. including unethical things that conflict with your moral code.
Y'all, I have burned so many bridges. I have torpedoed multiple six-figure jobs because I refuse to allow unethical things to happen under my nose or that conflicted with my moral code. I left active duty for that reason. So no.
5. You are consistently in control of your thoughts.
Nope. We'll just leave it at that.
You don't get in trouble at work or school for things you say that you think are fine.
No. See above where I torpedoed my job for trying to do the right thing.
7. You're fine with interruptions.
I can't lie, in case my mommy ever sees this, but if I tried saying I'm fine with interruptions in a room full of people who have known me most of my life, they would look at me and then immediately burst into laughter. So.
Changes to routine don't bother you or cause you stress. Let me give you an example. 9. You can run errands or do normal daily things that involve a series of steps, and it doesn't overwhelm you.
I don't think I'm overwhelmed by a series of steps because I take those series of steps and then create a system to make those steps significantly more achievable. Otherwise, I will forget things and do it wrong and then be frustrated because I have to go back and forth. So I'm going to go with, technically I'm able to do multiple step tasks because I figured out a way to do it.
You're not constantly exhausted, especially from your social battery getting drained. From what I understand,
you're not constantly exhausted, especially from your social battery getting drained. Which is funny because I'm in politics.
you don't have health issues. If you have a clean bill of health, you're probably not autistic. That may sound very direct, but studies show that up to 94% of autistic people have another co-occurring medical condition, and up to 84% of autistic kids are diagnosed with anxiety alone. That's not to mention all the issues like sleep problems, learning differences like dyslexia, and so on that are common co-occurring challenges for autistic people.
I don't like this game. I was gonna prove I'm not autistic.
12. Sounds, smells, temperature, and textures don't impact your mood or cognitive capability.
Wow. I am losing this game handily. I know for a fact smells will bother me. Sounds definitely bother me. I am a Karen in an apartment complex. I am not a good neighbor in an apartment because if I can hear you, that's a fucking problem. And if my temperature isn't Alaska or Antarctica, I can't breathe well. So.
Number 13, you don't have meltdowns or shutdowns. The final reason you're not autistic, you don't have meltdowns or shutdowns. Darn. And what are those, you might ask?
Yeah, what? Hold on. I can't say that I do or don't have those because we don't have any context as to what that may be or a definition of what those may pertain, okay? So let us observe.
Let me tell you. When your brain gets so overloaded or overwhelmed that you can't function at all. In a meltdown, you might lose it. It could look like you're an emotional wreck, crying, screaming, yelling, throwing things, even hitting yourself. But here's the thing. You're not doing it to get something out of the deal. You're doing it because you are exploding outwards with all of the overwhelm you feel, and you can't handle another way to do it. If you have a shutdown,
for the record, crashing out on stream because fascism is happening, I think is pretty fucking justified. Oh, and throwing your controller because the game cheated is perfectly natural.
More about signs you're autistic? Watch this video next.
I think this is...
Oh. No! We're not watching this! I've already been called out. I've already been called out. Not once, but twice. We're not watching this, but I may have to save it for...
If you're autistic...
reasons. Alright. Back to the... our regularly scheduled events here. Also, I don't know why it switched to dark theme again. Granted, I do prefer dark theme, right? I'm not a serial killer, but for the streaming purpose, it helps the lighting in the room. Because I can't handle the light sensitivity. First of all, Anna, we've only visited each other twice, and I don't appreciate you calling me out like that, okay? 2 times meeting each other should not be enough times to be able to laugh at me with that much disdain, okay? That is hurtful. You're not my mother, or my brother, or my sister, or my dad. If they said it, it would still be hurtful, but I wouldn't be able to argue with it.
Niger is slamming the door shut on US nationals. Reports suggest the West African nation has pulled the trigger on a total permanent ban of all US citizens. The government says it is done being treated like a security risk and is hitting back against Trump's travel restrictions. The government has reportedly decided to lock its borders to US nationals indefinitely. No visas, no travel, no exceptions. The West African country says this is a reciprocal move, a direct...
You know, the fact that all these African countries are banning Americans traveling there is, by all means, go for it. Because, I mean, at this point, you can't be hurting yourself. But it's going to be such... What's the word I want? Like, how do I want to phrase this? This is such a black mark on American history that this administration is so irredeemable that countries are banning Americans just outright from traveling to their country, or declaring that America is no longer safe to travel to. Again, most countries have issued travel advisories for their citizens coming to the United States, so much so that it's risking the World Cup being held here. In fact, I think it's already been moved. But suffice to say, like, even with somebody like me in office, entering into office and becoming the president of the United States, when I say, like, we have decades, if not generations worth of damage to heal from after this administration is behind us, like, this is part of it. These diplomatic relations have taken decades, if not generations, to form. And one president, within less than 12 months, has destroyed them so thoroughly that we are now banned from interacting with those countries at all. Like, it's not going to be a day one fix. These countries are going to see me and they're like, okay, let's see if this other white guy from Ohio is going to be a pain in the ass or not. And then they're going to see me and they're like, well, he is doing some things that we pretty much support, so I don't know, we'll give him a chance. You know, like, at best, I can reopen diplomatic relations with these countries within a year. At best. But it's probably going to take most of my term to even normalize relations with the people that this administration has those relations have been destroyed. It's the amount of work that has to be done to fix the harm caused by this administration is going to be multiple administrations worth. Multiple. And that is assuming the next administration would actually follow through. Didn't they make a new federation of states? Yes, there is a growing Pan-Africa movement, and some of the smaller African states are beginning to unite. Yeah, the Sahel Confederation, yep. I can't even imagine how they're going to put this in the history books. I mean, if they're written by America, they're not. They moved the World Cup even. I think they're in the process of doing so. Yeah, the Olympics, that's not going to fucking happen either. No fucking way. Especially if things escalate even further in 2026. The Olympics might get moved too then, yeah. They should get moved regardless. Because why the hell would you have an international event in a country that is targeting the international community? That doesn't even make sense. So, that's Niger. Speaking of more backlash.
Yeah, I have to wear glasses. I didn't. I look at... Yeah, that's William. The mystery man for me. Yeah, I got the same eye.
Everybody in the South is angry about the situation now. That they put the pedals away because they're humans as well. They came in the houses, they slept with the white girls, and they came home, and they have to sit in the back of the bus again.
That is my sister. No, this is my sister.
You know, Black American soldiers have participated in every war in American history since the Revolution. And since the Revolution, they saw their roles, their responsibilities diminished. And so by World War II, you had a concerted effort to keep them out of positions that mattered, and with few exceptions. And so that the Army mirrored the Southern United States. The Southern United States had codified in the laws called Jim Crow segregation, and the Army mirrored that.
People in Limburg area and the Netherlands, they didn't expect it at all. They know about what's happening in the States with they're putting people out of the history and out of the websites in Arlington and in the Ministry of Defense, etc. But never we thought that could be also happening here in the Netherlands.
Which just goes to show, like, if you allow racism, misogyny, discrimination, xenophobia, all of these things, if you allow that to have a platform at all and allow it to run for office and allow that political stance to be debated and treated as something equal, then this is the end result. Hate is much easier to sell than love or support or empathy or sympathy or community. Evidently, because we haven't seen it successfully been sold anywhere, or branded, I should say, all right? And thanks to capitalism, we have to talk about it in terms of selling and marketing. So the fact that the Netherlands is capitulating to American pressure and scrubbing their Dutch Netherlands memorial for the World War II and scrubbing Black World War II veterans from it is disgusting, reprehensible. And I'm so very glad that the Dutch population is pushing back hard against their government for doing so in the first place, for having the audacity, the gall to do that. And again, it doesn't make, like, I cannot fathom. I grew up in Lancaster, Ohio, which at one point in time was the seat of the KKK for Ohio, which is ironic because General William Tecumseh Sherman was born in Lancaster, Ohio, and was the reason why the North won the Civil War and thus freed the slaves. So the fact that Lancaster became the center of white supremacy and was the least diverse city for years per capita, like #1 least diverse per capita in the United States of America, is just breathtaking to me, right? And the fact that I grew up in that environment where terminology like colored folk was used as normal, as the state, like I was taught to use that word as politically correct. The exact second I learned that that was wrong, I stopped using it, other than for the context of this discussion. I cannot fathom racism. I cannot fathom it. And anytime I find myself being incorrect about terminology or history, I address it immediately. Because I don't want to be racist, even inadvertently or accidentally, from misinformation. So the fact that racism is something that people are very easily swayed by, that they can be like, well, look, that black man is taking your job. No, the fuck he isn't. He's struggling worse than I am. And good for him for getting a job that he otherwise might not have gotten. Like, who the fuck cares? Right? Like, I cannot fathom racism. I cannot wrap my head around it. I cannot wrap my head around misogyny and homophobia and Islamophobia either. I cannot wrap my head around bigotry and discrimination. And honestly, in my mind, if you're black, if you're a woman, if you're gay of some sort, if you're a non-Christian and you're in the United States and you're even marginally successful, in my book, that makes you eminently more qualified than the next 2 or 3 or even 4 levels of leadership above your position. Because how much shit did you have to go through just to get at a mediocre level of success? Just to get to mediocrity. Never mind excellence, right? You see a black CEO, you see a female, I don't know, Secretary of the Interior, major like judges, prosecutors, DOJ, this, that, and the other, right? Like Kamala Harris. By all rights, she should be a hero to black girls everywhere, but she's a feckless coward, so wonderful, right? But how much shit did she have to crawl through to get to that point? Like, the fact that she was able to run for president is an astronomical feat for a black woman in the United States of America. Unfortunately, it was during a time where the qualifications of governance had been dropped tremendously to the point where Trump still won. Now, on paper, if we're ignoring her actual politics, if we're ignoring her actual values and her actual leadership, and just look at her credentials on paper, yeah, she is eminently more qualified than many people to run for office, myself included. But the reality is her actions paint a different picture. So my point in bringing that up, right, is there are many reasons to be upset with people who happen to be a specific demographic. But it's because they happen to be that demographic, not because of that demographic, right? Kamala Harris could be a white woman and I would have said the same exact shit. Kamala Harris could have been a white man and I would have said the same exact shit, right? That's the point. Your race should not hold you back, but America does. In America, that's exactly what it does. Your race and your gender hold you back. So the fact that so many people of varying backgrounds still chose to fight for the United States of America in World War II, answered their nation's call when called upon, and are still being discriminated against, is obscene to me because they went above and beyond their mandate by every stretch of the imagination. Any rank that they achieved, any honor that they acquired, any accolade that they had received, they received in spite of the racism and discrimination of their times. Meaning, not only were they recognized for the work that they did or the achievement that they accomplished, but that achievement had to have been so significant that it could not have been ignored otherwise. Meaning, if it had been a white soldier that had accomplished that same task, they probably would have been given even higher honors or recognition. So, to discriminate against them, to erase their legacy, and to actively undermine any effort that this country has engaged in rectifying those mistakes and those problems or those systemic injustices is reprehensible. It's regression. It's cruel and it's unconstitutional. So I do not understand how people are swayed by that. I don't understand how people support it. And I don't understand how countries could capitulate to it from another country. I just don't. Right. General Sherman for the win. Yeah, I do not approve. Absolutely. Great use right there. The KKK is very much still alive here in Tennessee, where it was founded. They've distributed flyers in my own city before. And what's nuts is the Black Panthers were formed to fight against the KKK, and the United States government systemically dismantled the Black Panthers as a terrorist organization, and the KKK is still alive and well. We have a black mayor, by the grace of God, and his father, the first black mayor, had a burning cross put on his lawn by the KKK. Wait, again, right? There was a city in the Atlanta metro area, Cummings, where there hadn't been one black resident in decades. Oprah did a show about it in the 80s, which is insane, right? How, to this very day, the sheer amount of segregation and discrimination that still persists in the South, and hell, even in places in the North. It's like Hillary. She has a lot of experience, but she has a terrible record. You know what? That's exactly the phrase I was looking for. They have eminent qualifications and experience, but a terrible execution. Lots of experience, terrible record. Thank you for that for me. Thank you. Based Anna at 13. Let's go. Yeah, Anna has been a comrade since the very beginning. Like, I'm a late bloomer into comrade status. She's been there since the beginning.
To enact President Donald Trump's vision for the United States' future, ICE is preparing for wartime here at home in the United States by launching a $100 million ad campaign to recruit thousands of conservative-aligned people into a paramilitary force, ultimately answerable only to the president.
And that was not covered at all in that 2025 wrap-up that we just did at the beginning of the stream. ICE is being turned into the president's personal secret police force. Again, this is the intergalactic empire. These are stormtroopers, and they are beholden to only one individual. Or at the very least, that is the direction that this is going. And the fact that there are these ad campaigns targeting conservative men to join this secret police force to become stormtroopers is not a good sign. And the fact that it is even being conveyed as a wartime recruitment plan for CONUS activities, for at-home activities, should be deeply distressing to everyone.
You can help build the only independent news outlet always on the ground with the people for as low as 16 cents a day.
Isn't this the one that Jordan Sheridan's a part of?
Corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and you're going straight to the people.
Flint, Michigan.
Brooklyn, New York.
Government sending one more you to the residents of Chicago.
We need as many independent voices as possible, and that's why what you guys do is so important.
Covering what the corporate media covers up.
I'm JT Siskowski for Status Coup. This report comes from the Washington Post. Reporter Drew Harwell says, we got an internal ICE document revealing its $100 million wartime ad plan to bring 14,000 new hires, deals with tactical influencers, ads to gun and military buffs, and geo-targeting phones around NASCAR races and gun shows.
Hold on, okay. Tactical influencers, ads to gun and military buffs, and geo-targeting phones around NASCAR races and gun shows. It doesn't say, I mean... Oh. There's our technical difficulty for the day. It's time to fix the video. Listen here, you little shits. Remember how I can't do multiple things at a time and I lose track of... I don't want to talk about it. So, as I was saying, the fact that they can just geo-target phones with their ads, that's pretty disturbing. And the fact this is a $100 million propaganda plan is ridiculous. That the government is targeting the very kinds of people who have orchestrated, aided, and abetted things like January 6th and supported the Proud Boys. Like, I'm actually surprised I haven't gotten these ads because of my military background. And, well, I guess I don't go to gun shows and I don't watch a bunch of tactical influencers, but I wonder if he's going to show one of these ads because I'm mildly curious now. So, I'm not sick today. I've been sick for the past 4 weeks. And I think the dryness in the oval here is not doing me any favors, and drinking cold water is not doing me any favors either, but what are you going to do?
And military buffs and geo-targeting phones around NASCAR races and gun shows. This is a very sophisticated ad campaign that is being detailed in these documents acquired by the Washington Post and backs up some of our own.
I wish I had $100 million to campaign on our issues, on issues that matter. I wish I could do a $100 million campaign advocating for populism, right? Advocating for protests, organization, agitation, and dissent. Like, I wish I had $100 million to dedicate to something like that. But I don't have a $250 billion budget to build a secret police force with and undermine that intent with, unfortunately. So I guess I've been sick since before my birthday, which is about the same time when I had to start turning on the heat. Go to your doctor? Yeah. Let me go. Well, okay, the VA, I actually do have free healthcare. But for most people, they can't just go to the doctor. Your choices are be sick or have money. You can't have both.
On-the-ground reporting, which has shown some pretty shocking conduct already from Department of Homeland Security's immigration enforcement officers. So this here is from the Washington Post story. Quote, U.S. immigration and customs enforcement officials are planning supporters' advertisement strategy in Washington Post. That use of wartime language is important there when I was...
Yeah, it is very important because, again, and we've been saying this for years, and of course, because it's taken years, people have kept dismissing it as fear-mongering or liberalism or whatever else. But with the paramilitarization of law enforcement, this is the natural next step. Creating a paramilitary force that targets citizens. Targets the United States of America. That was always the case. And it's been the case for the past 30 years. We just never wanted to admit that general law enforcement was to keep people in check, to keep citizens in check. The fact that it is now overtly being advertised as such through this one specific organization is now what people are pointing their fingers to. It's like, oh, well, now it's happening, but it's not been happening for the past 30 years. Yes, it has. It's why you no longer have the right to self-defense against a law enforcement officer. It's why they're called law enforcement officers instead of peace officers. It's also why the Supreme Court ruled against being able to disagree with officers that are engaging in illegal activities or unlawful arrests or unlawful detentions. There is no such thing as an unlawful detention anymore in the United States of America because the Supreme Court ruled against it a few years ago. So no, our country has been a police state for decades. It's just not been this overt and apparent for decades until now, until this administration is making such a massive forward step on how aggressive this is going to be moving forward. So honestly, depending on how quickly this recruitment effort picks up and how quickly these stormtroopers get trained, like this could immediately start impacting us in the United States in 2026, like within the first quarter of the year. Like before my primary is even around the corner, we could be seeing these stormtroopers marching through our streets. Like, it is not an exaggeration to say that the little freedom that we have left to do things like this is numbered by the day. It's a matter of months, I would say. I truly believe it's a matter of months before dissent against the administration is completely censored or treated with some sort of criminal activity, right? Or some sort of retaliatory activity. I would give it months. I don't foresee it taking a full year. I just don't. If I can make it into Congress before that happens, it would be nothing short of a miracle. But that won't be until literally this time next year. That's literally 12 months from today, my swearing in. So I don't... We have a lot to look forward to, as it seems. Yeah, all of your conversation there about healthcare, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm extremely grateful I enlisted in the first place. And it's not even one of the reasons why I enlisted. It was just one of those things that ended up being extremely beneficial. So, it is what it is.
Messaging about this back and forth with my boss, Jordan, and one thing he said is, hey, if this is wartime, doesn't that need some sort of congressional approval, you know, for it's the power of Congress enumerated in the Constitution to declare war? My response to him was, I mean, we're looking at the actions of this administration so far. Why let congressional approval get in the way of good old fascist takeover of the United States? We've seen this administration.
Which is exactly what we were talking about. Now, this is a 16-minute video, and we do have other things to cover today, plus good news. So, let's get into horrible news. Worse news than this, believe it or not. Actually, you know what we're going to do? I want to see this ad. Holy shit.
To enact President Donald Trump's
How about
vision.
you shut the fuck up? I want to see the fucking ad. I don't want to see you idiots talking about it. Why isn't the ad itself just somewhere? Are you shitting me? That's 2 months ago. That's 12 years ago. Filters. This week? Would probably be under 4 minutes. Really? Really? Is this it?
Did you catch the bold move ICE just announced? Welcome back. Here's today's big news you need to know. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is planning.
Nope.
ICE's $100 million wartime recruitment.
Nope, that's AI slop. We're not watching that.
Washington Post is reporting that ICE is focused on helping the administration
out Uncle Sam and the words, America needs you. It's even making the rounds on.
Like, look at that shit. $50,000 sign bonus, $60,000 student loan repayment, up to a 25% increase of premium pay.
On LinkedIn, more ads are rolling out now with a wartime recruitment strategy to attract gun rights supporters and military enthusiasts. In a new DHS post.
And look, defend your home. Like this, these are the exact phrases the Nazi used. Well, fuck. Deutschland über alles, right? Germany over everything. Macht macht Freiheit or something. Arbeit macht Freiheit. All these things are being perpetuated in these recruitment ads.
This week, an image of the Statue of Liberty, the agency,
through the roof, because I think of
just, well,
so
in order to making it through to this.
Okay. Well. Wait, didn't one of these guys have it in the 50-50 here? $50-50. No. I thought it was running above somebody's head. Or is it because of the filters? Well, I guess it doesn't. I mean, I guess we're not going to be able to watch it after all. But still. Things to look forward to in 2026. All right. Adding to the dystopian nightmare news.
This year, at least 32 people died inside the Department of Homeland Security's vast network of for-profit detention facilities, which currently holds 65,000 people. It's the most ever. The facilities are overcrowded, understaffed, because right now, ICE only has the capacity to hold fewer than 50,000. Citing staff shortages, earlier this year, the Department of Homeland Security said congressional oversight through unannounced on-site inspections would not be permitted because there just wasn't enough personnel to accommodate a visiting lawmaker.
I'm sorry. First of all, let's break down. You know what? Let's finish.
At the last minute. We have
There's
nothing
only
to hide. We just don't have the personnel.
Oh, that was the last point. Great. So, 65,000 detainees from for-profit detention centers that are only supposed to hold 50,000, meaning a 15,000 person overflow. So that's the first problem. The second problem is lack of personnel support in those facilities. Which is fair because, again, we should never have been filling those detention centers past capacity in the first place because we shouldn't have been targeting immigrants living their lives, having legal statuses, and just being targeted for being brown in America, right? Let's just call that what it is. The fact that there are 32 deaths at all, total, forever, from the entire history of this program, it would be a problem, right? But the fact that it was 32 this year alone, meaning from January 21st, since the inauguration, it's actually in the past 11 months, there have been 32 deaths. That's nearly 3 a month due to malnourishment, medical malpractice, maltreatment, and overcrowding in deplorable conditions. Again, we have a word for this. There is actually a definition dictionary word for what these detention centers actually are, and that word is a concentration camp, a death camp. We have death camps in America, and we know of 32 deaths. Know of 32 deaths. I distinctly remember a few months ago talking about when the detainees were moved from Alligator Auschwitz because they were told to be moved, and then never heard from again, and that it was 1,200 personnel. 1,200 migrants who were picked up off the streets, ripped out of their lives, forced into these abysmal living conditions in this concentration camp, and then trafficked to God knows where, if they're even alive. But on the record, we have 32 deaths. I would be shocked if we haven't killed significantly more than that, including the 1,200 that I mentioned that were in Alligator Auschwitz. And the fact that we are now having a wartime recruitment program to ensure that the Hitler Youth, that the Nazi Party, that the ICE department has enough personnel to continue overcrowding concentration camps, detention centers, is only going to exacerbate this issue. You're going to hire more people to commit more atrocities on U.S. soil and target Americans, civilians who are going to undoubtedly push back against this. Now, that's just that portion. The fact that the ICE detention centers had the audacity to deter congressional oversight visits. The fact that they had the audacity to do that, and the Congress people just said, okay, makes it even worse. I can assure you, I, Samuel Ronan, as your congressman in the Ohio's 15th Congressional District, when I make an unannounced visit to an ICE concentration camp, it will take an act of God to prevent me from walking in there. I will fight my way in if I have to, and die trying, before I allow them to hide what crimes and atrocities they are committing behind closed doors. I'm not going to give them a heads up so that they can clean up the place and make it look less horrific than what it is, so that they can traffic some migrants around so it doesn't look as overcrowded as it undoubtedly is, or maybe clean up the place so it doesn't look as destitute as it undoubtedly is. No, I'm going in there. And if I can, if I have to, I will bring private security with me if that's what it takes. But I'm not certain what my authorities are as a congressperson. If I could take U.S. Marshals, for instance, I'm not entirely certain about my authorities. I'm not trying to put the cart before the horse yet. But assuming I can bring an escort of U.S. Marshals, I will order them to join me in kicking the shit out of ICE agents so that we can view these facilities. Because that is exactly my job. That is precisely my mandate. And if our government is committing crimes against humanity on U.S. soil against Americans and migrants who are here legally, then we need to hold those motherfuckers accountable. And the public has every single right to know. So I will do everything within my power to ensure that the American people see exactly what is happening behind those closed doors. That is 100% a promise and a pledge that I will stake my life on, because that is exactly how important it is. So, it looks like it is making
as this
news
administration's mass detention and deportation campaign expands. Video shows federal agents deploying aggressive, sometimes brutal tactics, the sort of measures and equipment once reserved for criminals or sting drug operations now are being turned on streets and neighborhoods in order to detain often regular people. In this next video we're about to show you, you'll see a woman being dragged by her wrists in the snow in Minneapolis. Onlookers yell out to let her go. Watch how it unfolds for yourself.
And look, they immediately started brandishing weapons. Now, it looked like it wasn't a pistol. This is some really bad. That might be a pistol. It looked like a taser gun. It actually, because it looked a little bit too thick. Can we get like any remotely better frame on that? This is the blurriest video footage. Yeah, see how, I mean, this is really bad. I can't go frame by frame, but that does look more like a stun gun than a pistol. But the fact that these guys are in plain clothes, dragging a civilian through the streets, you can't call it anything other than fascist secret police bullshit. You can't. There's nothing else for it. Secondly, the fact that citizens aren't engaging with the group is a problem in my book, but it's kind of justified at the same time, because who wants to get shot or tased, right? So I keep asking, what is the breaking point of tolerance for people? It's going to be when this cruelty, this malevolence overwhelms the fear of being attacked by the agents. When people's outrage and disgust at fascism in the streets overcomes their fear of getting shot or tased, that will be the breaking point. But the problem is that is already happening, widely happening in the United States right now. And apparently it's only going to escalate. So that boiling point should come now rather than later, when they have even more numbers and more armament. That's all I'm saying. Whatever our breaking point is, our boiling point, we need to organize much sooner than that, because it's going to be open civil war if this continues to escalate. That's what it would take. It would take massive gatherings pushing back against the other massive gatherings of stormtroopers to get ahead. But at least we are filming and at least we are showing who these people are. But if they're the bounty hunters, then they're not, I mean, they're their own bosses. They're not going to get their licenses, their bounty hunter licenses and privileges revoked. Right, they've detained people with passports, their IDs. They've said that the real ID doesn't count when you need 2 forms of identification to even get the real ID, and the real ID is being mandatory across the countries so it can standardize documents across the several states. Like, let's look into what the real ID requirements are. How secure is the real ID? The Real ID Act was passed in September 11th, 2001. Makes air travel more secure for everyone. The air system is already very secure, requiring travelers to have Real ID enhances that security even more. It verifies that individuals are who they say they are, given that bad actors would be unable to obtain or forge a Real ID. This adds a level of security to any entity that requires Real ID for a person to gain entry. So where the fuck is the Real ID information? There it is. A Real ID is a driver's license or ID card that doubles as a federally recognized form of identification. Basically, it's just like a regular driver's license, but to get one, you need to present extra documentation to your DMV or license, right? So, TSA. This is still about travel. So, my point is, getting a Real ID is a significantly recognized document with the same weight of recognition as a social security card and a passport. So the fact that these agents are disregarding a Real ID or mistaking a Indian reservation card as fake or whatever else just proves that it's not about immigration at all. It's about instilling terror and fear in brown and black communities. So, all I can say is that things are only going to get worse before they get better. And I only hope that people respond in much larger numbers. Because again, pointing a gun at 12 people is a sufficient deterrent. But if there were 100 people here swarming these 6 people, he would have never pulled this gun. That's what I'm talking about. Like, we need mass deterrence in numbers.
In separate video, some onlookers even try to warn them that this woman is pregnant. In a statement to MS Now, DHS...
Oh, and of course, they make all these anti-abortion laws, but when these women, these detainees, lose their child that they are pregnant with after being detained and attacked, they don't count those as deaths. Because I promise you that 32 number would be significantly higher if it included how many women lost their pregnancies.
Spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin claims that this was a targeted immigration operation that turned into a riot, saying, quote, during the riot, an unidentified woman who the crowd later claimed to be pregnant...
See, and why are you reading the DHS statement? Your job is not to repeat the filth coming out of the mouths of government, but to tell and to inform and to report on the legality and veracity of those statements, not read them verbatim. We have an hour left. Let's try and get to some better news. Granted, all of the bad news, the angry news, this was actually the last bit. So there's 3 short videos. Let's do that.
The death of a man in custody inside Newark's Delaney Hall Detention Center, prompting an oversight visit from members of Congress.
It's unfortunate and it's incredibly tragic, but the reason that we have to be here today is because someone has now died in custody.
According to ICE, 41-year-old Jean Brutus was taken into their custody on December 11th, showing no signs of distress during intake and without a medical history of cardiovascular problems. The next day, they say Brutus experienced a medical emergency and local EMS was called. He was pronounced.
Right. A 41-year-old was detained in absolutely perfect health and the next day suffered cardiac arrest. So we're supposed to just believe that? And again, that's what the reporter is saying. Instead of highlighting how impossible that is just regurgitating the statement made by the state.
That's dead at University Hospital. Conducting an hours-long oversight tour on Tuesday were Congress Representatives LaMonica McIver, Rob Menendez, and Yvette Clark. McIver saying detainees describe a lack of adequate food and feminine products, among other issues.
It is extremely awful, and that is why this detention center needs to be shut down.
For the Congresswoman, it's her first time visiting Delaney Hall since being charged with assaulting a federal officer during the scuffle that happened outside the hall.
And why are you bringing that up? You know, maybe my throat is raw because of crashing out so much. Like, what is wrong with these news anchors? These fucking reporters or whatever the fuck their goddamn title is. What is wrong with them? Oh, this congresswoman, this is her first time making it before she was charged for assaulting a federal officer. You mean doing her fucking job? When the federal officer assaulted her? Like, Jim Vassell, you're a fucking cunt. You're a piece of shit. You're a disgrace. You're an absolute embarrassment to the profession. And honestly, I can, like, all of these reporters that are aiding and abetting the propaganda machine and the messaging of the state right now, trying to normalize and, normalize and then dehumanize anyone who goes against it. These atrocious activities, these unlawful actions by ICE and their agents, like, fuck you, you're complicit. You're going to the Nuremberg trials, you piece of shit. Because your duty is to inform the people of what is happening, not the byline, the story that is being fed to you, maybe even at gunpoint. Be a man, grow a spine, and exercise your free journalist, your free press rights that is protected by the First Amendment. Otherwise, you're a fucking complicit Nazi. A complicit Nazi, and you will get treated as such, motherfucker.
In May,
I have a responsibility to serve the people and protect the people of the 10th Congressional District. And that is why I had to put aside my traumatic experience here and come back here and represent for them to see what is happening inside of this awful detention center.
In a press release, ICE says they are committed to ensuring that all in custody reside in safe, secure, and humane environments, and says at no time is the detainee.
And at what point in time was that actually true? Again, you're reading the statement and you're not challenging its obvious lies. It's obvious fallacy. You are just regurgitating their statement and not challenging it in the slightest.
Need denied emergency care. Protesters and activists braving a cold, snowy morning in Newark outside Delaney Hall in solidarity with Brutus's family. Charlene Walker, executive director of Faith in New Jersey, says the fight needs to be taken to Washington.
I think they should call a hearing with people, family members that can testify as to the conditions within the facility on the congressional.
Also, why aren't we reporting about the actual conditions within the facility? All we're talking about is the fact that she showed up. Like, where is she? Where's the presser after she looked inside and was like, wow, this is abysmal?
Level.
Pix 11 has reached out to ICE for comment. In Newark, Jim Vassell, Pix 11 News.
The details surrounding the death of 56-year-old Nenko Genchev, originally
That's fucking it? That's it? AIPAC is a foreign terrorist group at this point. Like, honestly, again, America has been infiltrated by Israel and is either currently under their control or in the process of being under their control. And AIPAC is the key agency facilitating that. Apparently, JFK was going to designate AIPAC as a foreign lobbyist. That's what I've heard, at least. Jimmy Carter didn't like them either. Yeah, no, now that I think there's been more documents released about the JFK assassination, and of course more archival information being revealed about what Kennedy was doing at that time, it is becoming more and more likely that rather than going after the Federal Reserve, and that's why he was killed, it was likely that he was doing something against Israel, and that is why he was killed. So, we don't have any feedback whatsoever on what the Delaney detention center looked like at all. And life goes on, apparently.
From Bulgaria remain murky. His
and
family.
Look, so the Delaney thing happened 12 days ago. And then, was this a separate one?
In less than 30 minutes, community groups are going to be coming together for a vigil in Newark. They will be honoring the life of an asylum seeker who died in ICE custody. Pix 11's Giovanni Diaz live right now outside of Delaney Hall in Newark.
Okay, so that's who that was. Okay, I thought this was another one. Fair enough. Okay.
And
but
a death
this is a different one. No? Yeah, this is a different one. And it also happened at around the same time.
Investigation underway after an African man died in ICE custody at the Moshannon Valley Processing Center. ICE is saying the man was pronounced dead Sunday about 3:30 in the morning after complaining of chest pain. They also say medical staff at the facility attempted CPR while they were waiting for EMS. The man changed his status to a lawful permanent resident of the U.S. in April of 2018, but ICE said he didn't have an actual claim to U.S. citizenship, and his cause of death still being determined.
Which, again, people who are being detained shouldn't be dying ever. And if they're complaining of chest pains, then you should maybe send them to a hospital or get them medical attention immediately. What's not being reported is the fact that that didn't fucking happen. And then the person died. And then the fact that ICE continues to go after people who are seeking citizenship, which is in of itself a legal status, by the way. As long as you're going through the process, you have the right to be here. And yet, none of these fucking journalists and reporters are saying that. And the fact that they aren't means that they are complicit, they are aiding and abetting with this bullshit. They are just as complicit as ICE doing the crime themselves by not doing their jobs and informing the public and pushing back against the government for violating these individuals' rights and violating the laws of the Constitution and our own country. This is reprehensible. It's beyond it is unforgivable. And apparently there is going to be a lot more people at these Nuremberg trials than just lawmakers and ICE agents. Now, we finally made it to the feel good. We did cover some of this video. So let's see, I don't know, none of these really excite me as much. Maybe I'm too jaded now from ICE. I apologize. Let's go to this one.
And in the Pacific, we got to celebrate the creation of the world's largest marine protected area. In June, French Polynesia created the world's largest marine protected area. nearly 5 million square kilometers of ocean. To put that into perspective, it's 1.5 times the size of India and could swallow the entire European Union. President Moitai Brotherson made the announcement at the UN Ocean Conference. The protected area covers their entire territorial waters. Over 1 million square kilometers received the highest level, roughly 4 times the size of the UK. In this core zone, only traditional coastal fishing, ecotourism and scientific research are allowed. And across the entire sanctuary, 2 destructive practices were banned completely. The first is deep-sea mining. That's when the seafloor gets dug up for minerals, destroying ocean life and harming marine species with noise.
Okay. We're doing a feel-good video and we're seeing some atrocities, right? Now, one would think scraping the bottom of the ocean can't cause that much of a problem, right? Well, think about developing just farmland. Think about turning a field into a shopping mall. Think about flattening hills or, well, cutting down trees and forests and all that. Do you have any idea how disruptive that is to the ecosystems of those areas? Or how doing that at a national scale can dramatically change the weather? The weather, yes, the actual in the sky weather. Rain, cold, hot, the wind. By developing areas, you can inadvertently destroy ecosystems that allow farmland to exist, that allow pollution to be absorbed and turned back into breathable water, right? By cutting down trees, you actually make the air less safe to breathe, and you disrupt the entire ecosystem that depends on that tree in the first place, which is usually birds, squirrels, and everything else under the sun, which contribute to replanting, reforestation, feeding other animals that keep certain things in check, right, without getting into the nitty-gritty. Every species, whether it's an insect or a bird or a predator animal, whether it's a plant or a fungus, plays a role in keeping that ecological stability and balance. And the more you disrupt it, the more you erode that balance. And once you erode that balance, it begins to collapse, which is why we are seeing record fires in California, why we are seeing record droughts throughout the Midwest, why flooding is becoming a major issue throughout coastal regions and the U.S. generally, when in prior years it wasn't that big of a deal because trees were there to be a buffer, because coasts weren't destroyed, because ocean beds weren't leveled and distraught and distressed, causing God knows what else to happen there. I'm not very familiar with the marine ramifications. But another thing that's not talked about nearly enough or understood is that the overwhelming majority of Earth's oxygen and plant life exists in the ocean, not on land, not from the trees. Does that mean we can go ahead and murder everything on land? No, because then everything becomes a desert wasteland. As we are again seeing, we are seeing the desertification of land in the United States that was once arable. And if you don't believe me, go to any new suburban development in America and go ahead and grab a stick and chomp it down on the grass there. And quite frankly, a majority of them will have extremely hard, gritty gravel or sand or dirt, not the nice soil that you're used to seeing in older developments like from the 60s and the 70s, when the grass and the land was still healthy and green. So, to tie it back to this, if we destroy our ocean floors, if we disrupt the ocean's ecosystem, it does affect inland ecosystems just as heavily because it all goes inward, right? Whatever's on the coast gets eaten by things that are slightly less off the coast, which gets eaten by things that are slightly less and less and less and less all the way up, right? And then those critters and plants and flora and fauna contribute to all those regions moving inward, which is why arable land even exists, because of all of these ecological systems working together, stemming from the ocean. So whether we're talking about drilling or whether we're talking about mineral scraping, it is vastly more destructive doing this to the ocean floor, which is virtually untouched. We're talking about the largest space on Earth is the ocean floor. It would be like if the Amazon rainforest covered every single continent completely and we only lived... Well, yeah, no, I mean that there is more land at the bottom of the ocean than if the Amazon rainforest covered all of the continents, right? The Pacific Ocean could swallow up every continent put together, right? Like Pangea would fit within the Pacific Ocean, okay? Now imagine that much mass, that much space, that much square mileage being untouched since the dawn of this planet's creation. And now, in the year of our Lord, 2025, we are sending machines down and disrupting it. We can't even begin to calculate the consequences of that action. But we are seeing some of them, and it is massive marine life loss, which is then impacting fisheries, which is then impacting the animal species that rely on the fishes, which then has the cascade effect that moves inland. Never mind the industries themselves causing that economic and industrial shift as well.
And habitat damage. The second is bottom trawling. That's when fishing boats drag massive nets across the seafloor and wipe out coral reefs, sponges, and seafloor habitats. This is particularly significant given the nation's size, because French Polynesia represents less than 0.01% of the world's global GDP. Yet they are now protecting one of the planet's largest ocean areas. They even committed to adding another 500,000 square kilometers to the protected zones in 2026. That's roughly the size of Spain. Small countries are taking big responsibility for the planet's future. And the good news for our planet didn't stop in the oceans. 2025 saw major wins for forest protection around the world. In March,
yes, the Amazon rainforest, which that is not, that's Africa, but the Amazon rainforest actually won a couple of major protections as well, which is significant. So let's see what this
March,
means.
The Democratic Republic of Congo created something extraordinary. A green corridor stretching over 2,400 kilometers, connecting two major national parks. This became the planet's largest protected tropical forest reserve. The Congo Basin is home to thousands of species, and over 60 million people live there who depend on the forest for food, heating, energy and jobs. This project is funded by the DRC government, the European Union, private foundations and international partners.
Well, see, now that makes me question it. That really makes me question it, since the EU, international partners, and private organizations are involved. That makes me think that there is something up. Are they trying to see where the oil is, or if there's gold to be had, and then they're going to extract it under the down low, or what? So, very interesting to see how this continues.
Up in Canada, 21 indigenous nations across the Northwest Territories secured $375 million to protect an area twice the size of Florida. And in Central America, Guatemala, Mexico and Belize signed an official agreement for the Great Maya Corridor, the second largest tropical rainforest reserve in the Americas. The region spans over 55,000 square kilometers, slightly larger than Slovakia or roughly the size of West Virginia. For decades, this jungle has been controlled by criminal gangs using it for drug smuggling. But the project is now offering local communities alternatives, like paying them to grow fruits and timber. And the impact reaches far beyond people. More than 7,000...
Now, imagine that. Environmental protectionism and conservationism is actually being used to fight back against criminal drug trafficking and distribution. That's, you know what? That's as good a reason as any in my book. If it keeps the the bad guys away and out, then why wouldn't we protect the forests and save the fucking whales?
Animal species are also benefiting from this project. All of this environmental progress is great, but tracking the actual impact has always been the hard part. Until 2025. For years, tracking global emissions meant relying on slow and outdated data. Countries would measure their carbon output and then publish the numbers a year or two later. By the time anyone could act on them, the information was already outdated. But that finally changed in 2025. Climate Trace launched the world's first real-time emissions tracking system.
Imagine that, the United States of America just lighting that shit up. Amazing. And look how it's only like southern Mexico that's lit up down there.
Using satellites, AI and ground sensors, the platform monitors over 660 million emission sources across
Holy shit!
the planet. Power plants, factories, farms, shipping ports, all of it.
Literally, there is the only parts of Europe that aren't covered in colors is Scandinavia because it's too fucking cold to build anything up there.
The data updates every 6.
Hold on, climatetrace.org. We're adding that to our stream links. Oh, wait. Let's... Oh. Hold on. Duplicate. I wanted to keep the... There we go. All right. Built by a global nonprofit. 50 billion tons versus 60 billion tons in 2024. So we're actually doing good. Oh, wait, you can't see that. Hold on. We're actually doing good. Look, 50 billion versus 60 billion. Like, that's really fucking good. Oh, maybe not. I'm sorry. I guess not. What? January to December? Is that not... Am I clicking on the wrong thing? Oh, okay. Maybe I had to actually go into it. So this is January 2024. That's the 60.3. 2025. Oh, 50.3 as of October. Now, look at that. Look at the United States of America just peppered with it, right? And it's obviously where all the major population centers are. Look at friggin' Canada. Like, there's like only a few sticks and then they're all the way up there, right? Now, Russia has one of the biggest red sticks. What even is that sector? Agriculture? I guess not. Was it fossil fuel then? Fossil fuel. Russia, #1 in the world. That's fucking wild. And then China, in all of the developed regions of China, look at that. Good Lord. India's pretty much fully covered. Then we got a lot of the Middle East. Kuwait. What's this country? The United Arab Emirates. Okay. And Qatar. Okay, now that makes sense. Those are the wealthiest areas in the Middle East. That makes sense. Oh, wait. How do I go... yeah. Back to the normal. Okay. And then, like, look at Africa. Most of Africa is only having these things pop up along the coasts. And again, a little bit right here along their forests. And then look at Europe. Look how dense that is, including Turkey. Like, look at how dense this is. Turkey through Armenia and Iran. You got the west or the eastern half of Russia. Look how dense this is in friggin' England and Germany, Belgium. Like, this is nuts. And again, South America is just focusing on the coasts. America is in the heavily populated areas, but pretty much the Midwest on to the right. And then we got a shitload of agriculture, it seems like, in the West. This is an extremely impressive tool. Extremely impressive and eye-opening. Where's Japan? Oh, yeah. Japan's got quite a few bristles as well. There's not a single thing on Japan that's not covered. That is awesome. This was an amazing find. Okay.
60 days. And we can already see the difference it makes. Global transportation emissions hit 7.1 billion tons in the first 9 months of 2025. And China's total emissions during the same period reached nearly 13 billion tons. Before climate race, getting those numbers would have taken another 1 or 2 years. Cities can now track their progress and adjust.
See, if a thing like this exists, then why the ever-loving fuck am I just now finding out about it? Right? Like, we are political junkies on this channel, and we've just now heard about this. This is fantastic information. Fantastic. It would be great if it was a touch more up-to-date and live than it is, but you would probably need significant investment in order to make it truly a live feed of carbon emissions. But imagine if countries used this tool and was like, wow, we should introspect a little bit and address our agriculture or our fossil fuel usage or the other areas that it mentioned. That is an incredible tool.
Policies in real time. And it's completely free. Anyone can look up emissions from their city or check specific industries. In 2025, real-time climate data just became accessible to everyone. And speaking of environmental progress, 2025 brought some major wins for endangered animals around the world. Sea turtles showed promising signs of recovery. An analysis of 48 populations, turtles showed.
Look at how adorable that is. That's the ocean equivalent of cats sleeping on a dog. Look at that. That's fucking adorable as shit. Look at those little fishy fishes. Just laying and cruising on that big ass sea turtle. That is the most adorable thing we have seen on this channel for a long time.
Showed promising signs of recovery. An analysis of 48 populations revealed that threats to the species are declining in more than half of the studied areas. Green sea turtles are thriving. Stricter protection of nesting beaches and efforts to reduce accidental bycatch over the past few decades are the main reasons why. In South America, another threatened species bounced back. The El Rincon.
Wait a minute. Malay did something good for the environment and ecological preservation? What? That doesn't seem very libertarian.
Stream frog can only be found in this tiny 10 square kilometer region in Argentina. Habitat loss in invasive species pushed it to critically endangered in the early 2000s. Conservationists therefore bred frogs in captivity, released them into the wild, and removed invasive trout. Since 2018, their population of 4,500 has increased by 15%.
Nice.
Meanwhile, in India, the Asiatic lion population grew by over 30% in just 4.5
Bam! King of the Jungle is back. Let's go.
years. These lions only exist in Gujarat's Gir forest. By the end of the 19th century, hunting had left only about a dozen alive.
Jeez.
But hard work restoring their habitat paid off. The latest count put their total.
Is 20 lions enough genetic diversity? Like, are these inbred lions? Like, I guess if it was 1 male and 19 females, you could get away with it, but... Well, no. No, you couldn't, because if that one male kept going with all the other 19 females, then that's that. I think it would have to be like 10 and 10 to really have a good shot at not having an Alabama
total at almost 900 lions, up from 674 in 2020.
That's awesome.
And there were other conservation wins too. The world's smallest snake was rediscovered in Barbados after 20 years.
Are you sure that's not a tapeworm? Because
blue iguanas on Grand Cayman Island bounced back from near extinction.
the dragons were saved! The dragons! Look at that fucking acid dragon. Look at it. Blue? Nah, that's definitely a Haktua dragon right there. That is a land dragon. That is a cool looking fucker right there. I tell you what, all he needs is a few wings and we're good to go.
A gecko species thought extinct on a Galapagos island turned out to be alive and recovering. The living
Yeah, because they finally got that Geico money. You know, that. Why do you think that Geico gecko was working so damn hard to sell car insurance? So he could send it back home to the Galapagos Islands to his homeboys and keep their family going. Like, good on you, Mr. Geico.
Livingstone's fruit bed moved from critically endangered to just endangered. But of course, work remains. The IUCN Red List shows that many animal species are endangered. And a lot more conservation still needs to be done.
Hold on a second. According to this chart, if I'm understanding this correctly, if this is all species on Earth, over a third are critically endangered, and almost, well, over a quarter are endangered, and then about 20% are vulnerable. Which, if you add up the numbers, it looks like that's what, 61.8 plus 19 is 80, right? That's 80%. 80% of all species on Earth are in either imminent danger or approaching danger. Remember that ecological thing I was talking about, and how if we disrupt the ecosystem, it fucks up everything, to include the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land we rely on to grow crops and feed our cows so we can have meat? If these 34.5% go, we're fucked. And if the remaining 27.3% go, we're doubly fucked, no point of return. And if we get all of that 81% out the window, we're going to see the desertification of continents in real time. Like, in real time.
Done. But as you can see, there's reason for hope. In 2025, we have once again discovered amazing new species as well. 3 types of methane-eating spiders were found.
Methane-eating spiders. Meaning, with just one evolutionary quirk, they could breathe fire. And depending on what their chemical composition is on their insides, if you were to step on one, it could explode. We discovered exploding spiders. Actually, the fact that there is a living organism on Earth, and not somewhere out in space, but on Earth, that survives on eating methane, I know we're not the only intelligent life on Earth, but I'm afraid now, because if we have methane-eating spiders on Earth, that means biological organisms could exist in other star systems that have planets whose atmosphere consists of methane or major methane deposits and thrive.
"900 meters deep in the ocean."
And 900 meters deep in the ocean, where the pressure of the ocean would kill you in the most non-subtle ways. So methane and extremely high pressures, which means they could handle gravity forces far in excess of what we have on the surface of Earth. Those could be some extremely dangerous and extremely scary aliens we may encounter out there.
But maybe one of the century's biggest animal welfare victories came from an unexpected industry.
People?
Fashion. Global fur production collapsed.
Nice.
In 2014, over 140 million animals were farmed and killed for fur. 10 years later, that number has now dropped to 20.5 million.
I mean, that is a dramatic decrease. Like, that is outstanding. Although, it is my understanding that you can safely and humanely get, like, wool, for instance, off a sheep. But it is my understanding that other animals, like obviously foxes or bears or cows or deer or whatever else, if you want that fur to be connected, it's actually, you'd have to get the dermis of the skin, i.e. the whole pelt. And obviously you'd be skinning a creature to do that. So it is definitely good to know that it has dropped by a factor of 7. Like, that is incredible. Yeah, the sheep need shearing, but everything else doesn't. So maybe we could just transition the fur industry into using wool of some sort. There's a thought.
Major fashion brands dropped fur from their collections, and countries across Europe banned fur farming. In my opinion, it's one of the biggest animal welfare wins of the century.
And you know what? Why is Germany so based on so many areas of politics and social justice, but then is talking about banning immigrants and making the largest military in the world? Like, are you fucking serious? Like, how can you be the green Hitler? Like, that just doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. Right, and if they want the fur look, faux fur is more than sufficient. But again, rich people want real dead animals on their clothing because they can't be normal. They just can't be normal. They have to go the extra mile and be horrible human beings. Oh, Hitler also loved animals. Go figure. So it's not even the green version of the Nazis. Fantastic.
And before I tell you about the best medical news of 2025, I want to thank all of you for your great support this year. Good News gained over 250,000 subscriber-sized doses. The tiniest patients finally have medicine made just for them. And the medical wins kept coming. Doctors just achieved something that seemed impossible. For the first time, Huntington's disease has been successfully treated.
Hey!
This genetic condition affects 41,000 people in the US alone. It combines symptoms of dementia, Parkinson's, and motor problems, typically appearing in people's 30s or 40s.
Jesus!
Before this breakthrough, the disease was usually fatal within 2 decades. But now, doctors can treat it through gene therapy. Here's how it works. During brain surgery, they inject modified genetic material directly into affected areas. This material stops cells from producing the toxic proteins that cause the disease. And this treatment showed really good results. In patients who received it, disease progression slowed by 75%, giving them many more healthy years to live. Patients expected to lose mobility stayed walking. And medical science didn't stop there. Brain tumor patients usually wait weeks for their test results to come back from the lab. Researchers at the University of Nottingham now changed that. Their new method delivers results in 90 minutes. The technique uses rapid genetic sequencing. It lets doctors examine tumor DNA while the patient is still in surgery. So far, it's been used in around 50 operations, with perfect accuracy in identifying tumor types. And this speed matters enormously.
I mean, honestly, the fact that we're using stem cells and gene therapy, the fact that we're having significantly improved imaging technology, this is the shit that we should be talking about every week. This is the news that we should be covering on Wednesdays and Tuesdays. The medical breakthroughs in America, the medical breakthroughs throughout the world, the conservation actions that are happening throughout the world and in America. But instead, the only news that we can find, and I am giving Anna a lot of credit here, she does search for feel-good information. She does look for health news and conservation news. But either A, it doesn't exist in real time and it's covered months later, or B, it just doesn't exist at all and it's buried by whatever fascist nonsense is going on in the world. So, the fact that we have these discoveries, the fact that these progresses are coming along, is astronomically good for human beings and our future and the generations to come. The fact that we are able to now treat things that were conceivably impossible, and now that we have the techniques to do that, we can use those same techniques to start curing other diseases that were deemed impossible to cure with modern medicine or other medical techniques. And the fact that America is going to go ahead and defund our medical research and then ban stem cell research and gene therapy research because it goes against the Bible is only going to harm us in the long run. So good on all these countries that keep going forward.
Surgeons can now make critical treatment decisions immediately, instead of waiting weeks.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I meant. You can't just type in medical breakthroughs this week. You actually have to know what you're looking for.
This gives patients with aggressive tumors a much better chance. Making cancer treatment more convenient was another major step forward this year. One of the most widely used cancer drugs is now available as a quick injection. It's an immunotherapy that helps the immune system to recognize and attack cancer cells. Since 2014, it's been approved to treat over 40 different types of tumors. But until now, patients had to travel to specialized infusion centers and sit through 30-minute IV trips just to receive it. For people already fighting cancer, this wasn't just inconvenient. It also tied up limited hospital resources and the time of the medical team. But the new version changes all of that. Millions of cancer patients can now get their treatment in about 1 minute with a quick injection. It can be...
But in our country, the United States of America, the Secretary of Health and Human Services is declaring vaccines unsafe, which is now going to impact cancer treatment and research. How many people are going to die or suffer that could have otherwise been spared because of RFK Jr. and Trump? Literally, this administration is responsible for all of the atrocities that we covered earlier today and the future deaths of Americans due to lack of access to healthcare, due to lack of access to medicine, and of course due to lack of access to housing due to economic constraints and issues. I don't know how many people are going to die under this administration, but it is going to be significantly more than had to. And the people that could be spared, could be alive from this, who will die instead, they will be avenged. That's the only thing I can say. That's the only way I can phrase it.
Given in far more places, from major hospitals to local clinics, making the treatment a lot less disruptive to daily life. Clinical trials showed the injection works just as well as the IV version, with no difference in effectiveness. And this isn't just an isolated case. Other major cancer drugs made similar switches earlier this year. Using the same injection method, treatment times now dropped to just 5 to 7 minutes. We saw the world's largest protected forest created, diseases once thought incurable finally being treated, and renewable energy surpassing coal globally.
And we covered that yesterday, which is why we started kind of in the middle. So no, fantastic information. Now, no, I want to end the stream on that one. All right. We're going to do the air filter real quick, because this is actually from America. A Nigerian American, you know, the people that we're currently targeting in the streets, kidnapping and trafficking, and sending them to death camps. Yeah, a Nigerian American had figured this air filter out.
Hello and welcome to The Breakdown. I'm your host, Sandra Bebu Boateng.
With just a box fan, tape, furnace filters, and cardboard.
You're going to make sure that there are no air bubbles, like you could see here.
Eniola Shakumbi created this virus filtering air system when she was just 9 years old.
Now, be honest. Do you remember what you were doing at the age of 12?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was trying to get the honey out of the bottle and not figuring out why it wouldn't come out of the bottle. I'm pretty sure I was not the brightest 9-year-old in America.
Because I do. And let me tell you, there's not much to write home about. If anything, I was probably trying to survive middle school politics or thinking about how I'm going to get my parents to buy me those new pair of sneakers, something like that.
I was worried about my next Lego set. I was definitely not inventing air filter systems. Okay. But in everybody else's defense, Anna, you are like this Nigerian girl. You are an exceptional individual who was nurtured in an environment to allow that exceptionalism to thrive. I am not an exceptional individual, although my environment would have allowed me to thrive had I been one. So you're not like the rest of us, Anna. You're up here. You're up here.
But today, I'm taking you all the way to Connecticut to meet an amazing 12-year-old trailblazer who's not just dreaming of a better future. She's actually building it, one air filter at a time. Her name is Eniola Shakumbi, a young girl with roots in Nigeria, and she's already made history by becoming one of the youngest people ever to secure millions of dollars in funding for her life-saving invention, an air filtration system for schools. Today, we're breaking down her story, how she started, and why this matters for all of us. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that.
Love engineering, but you also like to add a little flair, incorporate a little art into it. Why do you incorporate the art? And show me how to do it.
So who is Eniola Shakumbi? Well, Eniola is a bright, curious, and determined middle schooler attending Commodore McDonough STEM Academy in Middletown, Connecticut. But here's what makes her story so incredible. While most of us at the age of 12...
Not that I don't appreciate a good background, but I don't want to be here all day. We have a couple more videos that I still want to get to. So we're going to skip around and see if she gets to the point.
Well, people of all races, all color, putting aside their differences and looking up to a girl child, an African-American child, that is huge.
In Nigerian culture, there's a deep sense of if I rise, we all rise.
Yes. It is called Ubuntu, if I am not mistaken. And imagine that. Imagine if we embraced e pluribus unum in our country, out of many one. Imagine if we embraced that same kind of mindset in our society. Imagine what we could achieve in this nation instead of discrimination, racism, and bigotry.
And that's exactly how Eniola moves, lifting up everyone around her. But her mother says she had to make some big sacrifices along the way. In an interview with Forbes Africa, she said, "I've been mocked for putting my career aside, but seeing Eniola achieve this makes every sacrifice worthwhile. Parents need to listen to their kids, encourage them, and make sacrifices when necessary. I never thought the world would know me through my child, but here we are."
I mean, but honestly, if your kid is inventing filtration systems and netting $11.5 million funding, yeah, I think I would quit my job too. Like, all right, kiddo, Papa's gonna figure this out with you. You tell me where to stick the widget, and we will go do this together. Oh, you don't want me to touch the filter system because I'm clumsy and I might break it? Great. Just hand me the stickers, sweetie, and I will stick them right on. Like, are you kidding me? I wish I had a genius child. Are you kidding me? All joking aside, though, the fact that Forbes, a Western publication, a capitalist publication, is trying to paint the mother as something other than an outstanding parent and guardian who is doing exactly what they should do, which is support the next generation, especially if they are doing things that are this successful, is exactly what's wrong with the world. Capitalism views this kind of innovation and success as a mark against the parents, not necessarily the child, but against the parents who are also giving up their career to support their child, rather than, supporting and lauding the great efforts that were undertaken to facilitate this child's inventiveness and curiosity. So, suffice to say, before we get to the end, let's see.
2025 is coming to an end, and it's time to look at all the good things that will happen in 2026. From the defeat of malaria in Africa and other huge advancements in medicine, to carbon-free steel, the search for Earth-like worlds...
Wait a second. Was it this one that we watched? The rise of green hydrogen and new carbon rules? So let's do the green hydrogen.
So far, we have talked about some of the more established renewable sources. Now let's talk about one that's less well known. Green hydrogen. We need hydrogen for...
Which is crazy, by the way. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and we're just now getting around to using it. Ah, dang it.
Stuff like oil refining, steel production, fertilizers, plastics, and other heavy industrial processes. Most of the time, though, it is produced using fossil fuels like natural gas. This is called grey hydrogen, because it wasn't made in an eco-friendly way. It only becomes green hydrogen when it is created with renewable energy. Currently, though, it costs... Also in January, another massive regulation is coming into effect. And honestly, this might be one of the best pieces of good news of the year. On January 17th, the High Seas Treaty will take effect. It will represent a historic moment for global marine conservation. But why? To understand the significance, I want you to think about land. Most land on the Earth is owned by one nation or another. But this is not the case with the oceans. They are so enormous that many parts of it are not owned by anyone. In fact, 2/3 of the seas are not governed by anyone. This makes it difficult to enforce environmental regulations in these places. The High Seas Treaty addresses this gap. It allows UN member states to create marine protected areas in these isolated regions. And it gives them access to the tools they need to protect and manage it. This is literally one of the biggest wins for the ocean in decades. The treaty required 60 UN ratifications to enter into force, and Morocco became the crucial number 60 at the end of 2025, which means it can now officially go into effect. Some of those same countries
So there's 143 nations in the United Nations, I believe. And every single one of them can vote to condemn the Israel. But if the US vetoes it, it doesn't happen. But as long as 60 people sign on to this treaty, they can start conservation efforts. Seems to me like there should be an international treaty signed by the United Nations and member states as a mutual protection act against Israel and the United States. There's an idea. There's a thought.
These have also been involved in another major piece of legislation. In 2024, the AI Act was accepted by all member states of the European Union. We all know that this technology has the potential to be very dangerous. That is why
Potential? It's already very dangerous. People are committing suicide. It is destroying infrastructure. It is destroying institutions. It's costing people jobs. It's poisoning our air. It's poisoning our land. It's using up our drinkable water supply. And it's not even useful. Like, at the scale that it's trying to be used at. Like, don't get me wrong. AI being used in scientific research and in modeling systems, absolutely fine, perfectly usable, perfectly viable, because it is actually being designed to serve that purpose rather than being force-fed through us so billionaires can make even more money. Right? So, no, it's not potentially dangerous. It is already very dangerous.
why the EU put controls on the AI market. Since it came into force, it has slowly been strengthened. In February 2025, general rules were laid down. It prohibited things like manipulating or deceiving other people using AI. Then, in August, another set of regulations were added. They specifically targeted general-purpose AI, like ChatGPT. One of the rules states that these apps will now have to remove copyrighted material at the request of the owner. So basically, we can tell them to stop using good news content to train their models.
Yes.
Now, all that is left to regulate are high-risk AIs. These are AI tools and programs used in sensitive areas like safety.
Are you shitting me? That should be right under the unacceptable risk. The fact that law enforcement can use AI to track you, and AI is extremely wrong, even in those systems, is not a feel-good for anybody. That's just asking for pain and punishment.
Safety, finance, and law enforcement. And the first of these measures will make an appearance in 8 months from now. They will make sure that high-risk AIs have to meet strict safety requirements.
Oh, good. So in the next 8 months, we could literally have RoboCop. Are you fucking insane? Implement that shit right fucking now. Now, granted, that's Europe and not America. America is, of course, making it impossible to regulate AI in any capacity for the next 10 fucking years. Until I'm in the Oval Office and I can rescind all that shit.
Before they can be publicly sold. Then the second batch will be passed in August 2027. But let's not forget that AI can actually be really good for many things. I mean, just look at the impact it's going to have in medicine. And in particular, on the gene editing software CRISPR.
Alright. We're gonna have to stop the video here on this subject, because there is a video that I want to cover. CRISPR. I don't know what that stands for off the top of my head. I don't deal with this often enough to have that readily available. But CRISPR is gene editing software. It allows scientists and bioweapons manufacturers to develop gene sequences, viruses, bacteria, and other biological microorganism things. It is also able to create individual genes and sequence them and either insert them in existing gene structures for testing or for whatever else at scale. So the fact that it is becoming more sophisticated means biological warfare might be the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. Never mind nuclear weapons. Because if the COVID pandemic ripped through the entire Earth in a matter of weeks, imagine, and again, there was a significant death toll throughout that entire COVID pandemic lockdown that we didn't participate in America, but the rest of the world did. Imagine if COVID had been designed to specifically target demographics, specific genes like people with blue eyes or red hair or melanated skin. Imagine how devastating that could be. And Anna, clustered, regularly interspaced, short, palindromic repeats. Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense because all DNA is the regularly interspaced palindromic, which is right, same backward and reverse, right? Of 4, I think they're called nucleotides, and how they are ordered, like how they are linked together, and then across, miles worth of DNA, but at the microscopic level. Point being, CRISPR is one of the most exciting software that could dramatically improve human life, and also one of the most terrifying software that could end it. But let's hear the rest of this and then we'll get to the other.
This advanced tool cuts and modifies DNA with robotic precision. These small edits are most useful for curing genetic diseases. As you might expect, operating CRISPR requires a lot of training and expertise. Even experienced scientists can find it difficult to use. This is where CRISPR-GPT comes in.
Oh my god! Oh my god, no! 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 Where's the does not approve? Is it this one? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. No. Niet. Nine. Nyada. Other languages for no. Neh. CRISPR. I need to make a social media post real quick. One word horror story. Are you fucking kidding me? Buddy, that is not good. See, this is what happens when normies get involved with biological science without understanding biological science.
Think of it like ChatGPT, but for editing.
I am thinking about it as ChatGPT with CRISPR. That was the exact thought that went through my mind. And you know what happened? Panic, fear, concern, flashbacks, PTSD, the game. There's a game. Plague Inc. Don't ask me why I have Plague Inc. on my phone. Is this not showing me the menu of it? I wanted to show the menu. Look! There's a game! Well, we're fucked. That is the most terrifying thing I have ever fucking heard.
Genes. CRISPR-GPT has been trained on 11 years of data that comes from past CRISPR experiments. It uses this knowledge to give scientists useful suggestions or things to avoid when designing new experiments. And as a result, it makes things a lot faster. Plus, it makes CRISPR so easy to operate that even beginners can use it effectively.
No! No! Absolutely fucking not! Just like the Chinese should not be giving mobile flying drones with manual controls to civilians. Y'all! If Trump gets a hold of this and gives it to RFK Jr. and then gives it to literally anybody with an ounce of technical expertise who is as racist, xenophobic, or bigoted as the rest of them, and asks CRISPR ChatGPT how to create a disease to kill all black people? Hello? Hello? No! Absolutely fucking not.
The higher speed means that life-saving drugs could now be created faster.
As could specifically targeting specific demographic drugs, viruses, and bioweapons.
While the ease of use allows more scientists to participate.
Bro. Really? I know how to spell profound, motherfucker. Criminy.
Over the course of 2026, scientists will be investigating rare genetic diseases, blood disorders, cancer, diabetes, and autoimmune disorders, to name just a few. Excitingly, some of them will be entering their final stages. Which means you can expect a lot of good news stories talking about them.
This is the face of the guy who told the alt-right community, or could potentially have told the alt-right community, you can now use AI to create a smart virus to kill black people and brown people. Which is a majority of the fucking earth. Okay. That wasn't as much of a feel-good as I was hoping it would be. But, as Anna just mentioned, these were the videos I wanted to watch. Now, these videos are about bees playing with wooden balls. And you know what? There is absolutely nothing traumatic or potentially risque about this. This is just really fucking adorable. Why is the quality such shit? Look. Look at the bumbles. You can teach a bee how to play with oh, look at that. Scientists just invented bee soccer. That is fucking amazing. This is the science we should be investing in. We could train the bees to play sports instead of stinging us. But of course, because I'm me, and we just had a terrifying revelation about CRISPR GPT, If you can train a bee to play games and be cute and adorable, you can probably train bees to murder and spy on people. But here's another one that looks like it has...
Now, scientists in the UK have discovered that bumblebees enjoy playing with balls just as
Aw, racist grandpa actually did something adorable. Aw.
humans and dogs do. Researchers at Queen Mary University in London say
First of all, imagine being an insect species. Just imagine that for a second. Dealing with your regular 3-week lifespan or whatever for millions of years. And then these mildly intelligent apes that are hairless, wearing funny things that isn't their fur, teaches you how to play. Millions of years. Millions. Not one toy. Not one play. But these hairless apes with their not fur give you sugar water and you play with this thing and you have a ball. An actual, no pun intended, ball. A blast. And then you tell your friends. And the bees are like, bro, this is gonna blow your mind. We don't actually have to go get pollen all the fucking time. We can just spin these beads around. It is the bee's knees.
Research, which was published in the journal Animal Behavior, provides a strong indication that insect minds are far more sophisticated than we might have imagined.
Which is also, hear me out, prime reason why we shouldn't be killing animals and insects indiscriminately. Because the likelihood of all species on Earth, including plants, having some form of intelligence is significantly not zero. Significantly not zero. So.
Aruna Ayunga has this report.
It's an extraordinary sight. A bee plays with a ball. It's more than just cute. Researchers say this shows, for the first time, insects interacting with inanimate objects as a form of play. And that suggests their minds are more complex than we previously thought. Bees are known to work cooperatively in hives. They give us honey and wax, and our ecosystem relies on them through pollination. But despite their tiny size and brains, they're far from being just nature's workhorses. A team at Queen Mary University of London designed a series of experiments where bees rolled wooden balls. They found the bees showed their playful side without any extra inducement, like a sugary treat. They went back to the toys again and again. Younger bees played more than older ones, and adult males rolled for longer than females of a similar age. Aruna Ayunga, BBC News.
And on that note, thank you for coming to the stream. My name is Samuel Ronan, your future president. And today was Recap Thursdays, and we finally got to end our stream on one of the most adorable notes I think I have ever witnessed in my life. I mean, honestly, between the sea turtle and the fish sleeping on his shell and the bees playing with the beads and the wooden balls, like, I don't know which one was more adorable, but we need more of that. And less ice fascism. We definitely need that. And no more GPT science software. None of that. You want to use AI? Do not give it to American tech companies to turn into... Don't do that. So, on that note, Happy New Year. We will see you next week, bright and early, promptly at 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesdays, we cover U.S. politics and policy. On Wednesday, we cover global politics and policy. And Thursday, we do recaps and are going to try integrating happy news, good news, news to look forward to. So on that note, have a great night, a wonderful evening, great weekend. Do not add or subtract to the population. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you Tuesday. Samuel Ronan,